Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Godlike Naruto has a dual wield part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Naruto began to walk away slowly from the corpse of Hokage Kisame, dragging his precious Samehada behind him. It was his trophy of the battle, proof that he had defeated the missing Nin, one of the strongest in Akatsuki. As he walked, he left a furrow behind him, a trail to show his way. He panted as he walked, a sure sign of the stress on his body, his regenerative powers taxed to the limit. It seemed he walked forever, trying to find a glimpse of his comrades, when he came upon a scene he never wanted to see. There, bloody and battered, was Pain standing over the lifeless body of Jiraiya. The old toad sage had put up a good fight, it seemed, seeing the state Pain was in. Naruto felt the rage coming back and the red chakra swirled around him. He would have his vengeance. Pain gasped for breath. Out of all his opponents, none had been able to injure him as Jiraiya had. His old master, if he had been in his prime, would have more than likely wiped the floor with him, supreme Dijutsu or not. Hearing a sound like a stampeding herd of elephants, he swung his head only for his eyes to widen as a blade that was never meant to slice was flung through his torso, ejecting all his innards behind him. His eyes glossing over, he couldn't help but think that he was so close to his plans being completed. This boy, however, had completely ruined it. It was all over. And it was done with one of his subordinates' swords. The last thing he heard before he departed the earth was a low hiss from the blonde. You deserve worse for what you've done in your lifetime. Jiraiya trusted you to do good in this world and instead you tried to bring its end. When my time on this earth is through, I'll see you in hell and I'll bring Kyuubi with me. I think you would find your soul tasty. Now usually Naruto was not that malicious to anyone, but Pain had stolen someone very dear from him. He looked down at the body of Jiraiya and let some tears escape his eyes. Wiping them from his face, he performed the Kuchiyos no Jutsu and summoned Gamabunta. What is it this time, Naruto? What could possibly, oh sweet Kami? Jiraiya. How did it happen? Pain, I see. I suppose we should give him a proper send-off then. Oil, hi. Oil. Both he and Bunta performed the necessary hand signs and incinerated the body of the toad sage. The only thing left in the aftermath was the plate from his Hittite. Naruto jumped to the ground and picked it up, wondering at its resiliency. It's made of demonic bone, Gaki. I wish Jiraiya could be the one to give it to you and congratulate you, but alas, it was not to be so. I hope the pervert is happy in heaven. After all the good he's done, despite his pervertedness, he deserves to be there. I shall inform Tsunade myself of your new appointment. Appointment? Yes, Naruto. You are the new toad sage. I wish it were under better circumstances, but not everything goes right. Affix the plate to your headband and wear it with pride. Know that your parents, Sarutobi, and Jiraiya look down upon you with pride. I know I do. My parents? You knew them? I did. They were wonderful people. It is not my place to tell you though. Ask Tsunade when you return. Now go to your group and revel in victory. They are to your north, I can see them. I shall go now to inform Tsunade. Nice sword by the way, kid. It's definitely you. Before another word could be said, Gamabunta disappeared in a huge puff of smoke. Naruto watched until it all dissipated and tore his Konoha plate from his black headband, before affixing his new sage plate to it. He then hefted Samehada to his shoulder and began the trek to catch up with his teammates. On the way there he became lost in his thoughts, thinking about the past. At the tender age of 15, he was already a world-class shinobi, and now he was a sage. He thought back to how hopeless he used to be and how he was now. But most of all he thought of Sakura and how close the two had become. He kept a tiny glimmer of hope in his heart that she had come to accept him, and every time they had a moment it only fanned the flame. Hinata had finally come clean to him on their journey to the battlefield, but he had told her that his heart was with another, and that he couldn't possibly hurt her by not being there 100. He told her that there was another like him that loved her, and she was like him, too blind to see it. When she asked who, he responded Kiba. Her answer was she knew and harbored feelings for the boy, but had held out hope against hope that Naruto would return her feelings. Neither resented the other and realized that they should have resolved it all sooner than they had. They were even closer now thanks to her admission. Naruto turned from his thoughts when he saw figures in the distance. He had arrived. Sakura was walking from body to body, checking for the wounded and dead. Everyone in her group was all right, but some were injured badly. They would have to get to Konoha as quickly as possible. She was startled out of her thoughts by Ino, who shouted that they had found Sasuke. Her heart skipped a beat, and she ran toward her blonde friend. All her old feelings came rushing back when she saw him lying there with that stoic look on his face. To her, he was more handsome than ever, but in the back of her mind was that voice, telling her to be careful, that this was not the Sasuke she knew. There was an element of danger in the air that repulsed and excited her all at once. She finally made it to the ring of friends surrounding the boy and knelt beside him. Putting her palm to his cheek, she turned his face so that he looked at everyone. He gazed around and laughed at them. So you finally all caught up to me. Pitiful. I don't want nor need your help. My group and I can get along just fine. Besides, I already killed Itachi, so you're too late to help me like you wanted to Sakura. Your group is dead, Sasuke. All dead. And we're here to take you back to Konoha. Our duty to the village comes before personal feelings. As the protege of the Hokage, I cannot allow you to leave. You are coming back with us. He looked up and smirked at her, but it didn't do what it used to. In the old days it would have made her heart flutter. Now, it just reminded her of a snake, coiled and ready to strike. Well, I've accomplished all but one of my dreams, so why not? Those losers who followed me were of no consequence anyway. And it's not like Konoha can afford to lose the Sharingan, so my sentence won't be much. There's only so much that Tsunade can do before the council steps in and takes action. For some reason, his words angered Sakura greatly. This wasn't the man she knew and loved. Looking around at her friends, she saw they all held the same look on their countenance. Ino, one of her fellow fangirls, had a look of utter contempt on her face. She had long ago given up on the Uchiha. Sakura sighed and thought of all the times when they were Team 7. The joy, the laughter, the warmth that Sasuke had no part in. That was all Naruto. Her thoughts turned introspective and she began to recount their exploits since he returned from his training mission. They had grown close, really close, and she enjoyed every minute with the blonde even if sometimes he was a royal pain in the ass. The thought of feeding him when he had destroyed his arm came to mind, and she nearly giggled at the thought. He had been furious when Kakashi and Sai had shown up and ruined the moment, as he put it. Thinking back, she hadn't been happy when they had shown up either. She scowled and turned her attention back to Sasuke to see his eyes go wide and an evil smirk cross his face. Before she could even move, he lunged upward and drew her in for a kiss. Her eyes widened when she realized what he had done, and she went to deepen the kiss to see if her feelings still remained. That annoying voice in the back of her head was screaming danger again, and she felt nothing. No spark, no flame, nothing. Her feelings for Sasuke were completely gone. She felt him smirk in the kiss, and opened her eyes to see him looking out of the corner of his own. She cut her eyes in that direction, and they widened to unbelievable proportions. Walking slowly forward, looking like death warmed over, was the man who had invaded her dreams in the recent past, Naruto. He had found the entire group in one piece, which was a good thing. Everyone was standing and looked in good, if not fair, condition. He was happy that they'd all be going home. Seeing a part in the crowd, he noticed a head of pink hair knelt beside a head of dark hair, and realized that they were his old teammates. His heart soared, they had finally got him. All they had to do now was get Hinata to close some tenketsu so he couldn't move and make their way home. His progress halted, however, when he saw Sasuke jolt upwards and lock lips with his pink-haired beauty. His heart further shattered when she deepened the kiss. In the momentary halt, he realized that he never had a chance, and it was foolish to think he ever had. Traitor or not, the Uchiha was always a step ahead, no matter what he did. In that moment, Naruto made a conscious decision that he should have made years ago. He let go of his feelings, not enough not to care for her anymore, but to kill his love for her, or so he hoped. He didn't want to hurt anymore. He put his game face back on, the stupid grin that everyone knew so well, and sauntered forward. He thought he heard Sakura mumble his name when he came into the circle, but passed it off as his imagination. He disregarded their stares at the enormous sword and put on an authoritative voice. All right, if everyone's ready, let's go. Hinata, kindly press some tenketsu on Sasuke so he can't get away. I don't want a repeat of 3 years ago. What's the matter, Dobe? No hug? No tears shed for a comrade coming home? I thought you were my brother. No one saw the sword come off his shoulder. All they saw was that it was now placed under Sasuke's chin and that despite its weight, Naruto wasn't straining to hold it with one hand. The look on his face could have frozen an ice cube. Don't presume you know me, Uchiha. I made a promise to Sakura to bring you back and you're coming back. I don't owe you anything. You're not my brother. Brothers don't try to kill one another. I won't put up with any of your bullshit, Sasuke. The idiot you knew died 3 years ago. And stop sweating like a little girl. Your blood is not good enough to sully this sword with. Everyone pack up, we're moving out when you're all done. Sakura went to speak to him, but he had turned and sat on the ground, his new sword in front of him, while he meditated. She frowned and decided she'd talk to him later that night. She heard a grunt come from the boy on the ground and figured that Hinata had closed his tenketsu, including the ones around the eyes so that he couldn't use the Sharingan. Everyone went off to pack up, leaving the blonde Jinchuriki alone. He sat meditating upon his new predicament, and wondered what responsibilities he would have now, when he heard a voice that was not a comrade's and not Kyubi's. Pick me back up, boy. I need to speak to you. Who was that? I lie in front of you, now pick me up. We have matters to discuss. Naruto looked down at the odd sword in front of him, and picked it up by the handle. As soon as he did, he was jerked into his mindscape. He stood in front of the fox's cage and looked up into its eyes and found confusion. Well, that was a new development. Hearing a cough behind him, he turned to find a man behind him that looked exactly like Kisame. Oh shit, that isn't good. Fear not, boy. I will not harm you. I only took the appearance of my last handler so that I would have a form to talk to you in. I want you to be my new handler, and eventually my master. I want someone to handle me to my full potential. Tell me, boy, what is it you seek? Acknowledgement. And love. I want people to see me for me. I seek battles to prove my strength. I seek power to protect those I love. I seek a way to rid the world of evil. Very good. I think I may have chosen well. We shall see in time. I notice that your tenant will not speak to me, and that is just as well, since I have nothing to say to him except do not try to escape. I will absorb whatever power you try to corrupt the boy with. Uzumaki Naruto, I need you to find my brother. It did not choose its next successor as I chose you, and therefore it is lost in a void at the moment, its true power lost. It is on the battlefield with us. You must find it, and then return here to talk to me. Who is your brother? How will I know where to find it? I will send out pulses to locate him. And you know him very well, for you have faced him and lived. Kubikiri Hocho, the blade of Momochi Zabuza, is calling to you as well. I can hear its cries for a master worthy of it. Its last possessor was anything but. That sword was rightfully yours after Zabuza died. It called out to you, but you did not hear it. Now is the time to correct that mistake. Now go, child. Naruto was ejected from his mindscape to feel Samahata pulsing with power, the pulse leading him away from the battlefield. The others watched with bated interest as he walked in a seemingly random stumble, holding Samahata out in front of him until he came across the body of Suigetsu with Kubikiri Hocho beside him. In the back of his mind, Naruto could hear a dull roar becoming a distinct howl. Pick me up, boy, you've denied me too long. My place is with you alongside my brethren. Take me in your hand and fulfill your role as master. As soon as Naruto took the cleaver and stood up, waves of energy shot from him and the swords, washing over the battlefield and scaring all his friends. When they looked back to him, all they saw was a rigid Naruto standing with the two swords thrust into the ground in front of him, his hands on the hilts. Back in his mindscape, a reunion of sorts was happening. So, brother, we meet again. Under better circumstances than I could ever hope for. Yes, brother. Indeed we do. And is our prospective master not one of promise? I have never seen so much latent potential that has been going to waste. We must rectify this as soon as possible. Of course, brother. Naruto had finally had enough of the sappy reunion and decided to make himself known. With a shout, the two entities turned to find a flustered Naruto and a still wide-eyed fox. Why does Kubikiri look like Zabuza? I thought his last wielder was Suigetsu. My wielder was indeed Suigetsu, but my former handler that I approved of was Zabuza. He was not a master of me, just as Kisame was not a master of Samahata, but they were both approved by us. I was taken against my will by Suigetsu. You were to be my rightful owner, but you ignored my cries and left the wave. Why did you not answer my calls? I didn't hear you. I didn't hear anything of the sort. That is because fear plugged your ears, boy. You were unsure of your path at the time and knew not where you would end up. It is good, brother, that he did not pick you up back then, as he was not ready for the responsibility of a sword of your or my caliber. I wasn't ready then, but I am now? How do you know? Because you have overcome all your fears, boy. You do not fear death anymore. You are not afraid to be hurt by those you love anymore. Just because they can hurt you doesn't mean you fear it anymore. You are perfect for us. Believe it or not, we were always meant to be used as a tandem. Return to the outside now and return home. Once you are ready, we will speak to you again and help you to wield us. But how will I carry you? I don't have any holsters for swords. Simply place Samahata on your back at an angle and he will adhere to you using your chakra as a focal point. Place me at the opposite angle and Samahata will take your chakra and adhere me to itself. Do not worry, we will not impede your travel. In fact, I don't think you'll even know we're there. You are already able to wield both of us with one hand, a sure sign that you are destined to be our master. Now go, your friends are trying to revive you. With that, Naruto spiraled out of his mindscape and was met with Kiba waving his hand in front of his face. Shaking his head, he got rid of the mental cobwebs and slapped his friend's hand away with a smile, saying he was all right. Kiba shrugged and walked away to join the group. All eyes were on Naruto as he tore Samahata from the ground and swung it to his back and let go of the handle. To his surprise, it did just as Kubikiri said and clung to him. Slinging the cleaver over his other shoulder, it stuck to Samahata like glue. Jaws dropped looking at how he flung the two heavy swords around like paper clips. He turned to the group and saw that Sasuke was strapped to the back of Akamaru while Sakura had taken up a post beside him. Deciding he didn't want to wait to get back to Konoha, he performed Kuchio's no jutsu and an extremely large toad, almost the size of Gamabunta, appeared before the group. Naruto explained what he wanted. The toad nodded and allowed everyone to climb aboard. Using chakra to keep themselves grounded, they took the Toad Express to the gates of Konoha. Naruto never noticed the glances Sakura kept throwing him. He was too lost in his thoughts. Tsunade had finally gotten rid of her tears after hearing of the death of her closest teammate and friend. Jiraiya had gone out like a warrior at least and hadn't been pummeled to death by a bunch of angry women. That thought almost made her laugh, but that wasn't a luxury she could afford right now, especially when a boom sounded outside the gates and she looked out the window to find a giant toad with several distinct shapes on its back. Well, at least Naruto's back. Sigh, a new Toad Sannin. The youngest one ever, no less. Poor boy is probably torn up just as much as me. Better go down and see them. With that she was out the window and running toward the gates. Naruto never said a word to any of them, but leapt off and approached Tsunade immediately. She raised an eyebrow at the swords on his back and was about to say something, but was cut off by a stoic Naruto. You. Me. Your office. Now, well, that was a good talk, thought Tsunade as they trudged back to the tower. She had no idea what she was in store for. As they walked she took in the look of the boy, no, young man beside her. He had apparently lost his jacket in battle and was clad only in his orange pants and a mesh shirt, his well-defined body on view for all, catching the blush of more than one girl. Her eyes widened when she saw his Hittite with the kanji 4 oil. One last gift from Jiraiya. It held up his wild hair and made him look more mature, or perhaps that was the scowl on his usually perpetually happy face. Once at her office he had performed a few seals and made the room soundproof before locking the door. She wasn't aware that he even knew anything like that, and then a scowl crossed her face. There was a lot about him that she apparently didn't know. The boy was just too good at hiding his true strength. Hearing 2 thuds she looked across the room to see him lean the 2 huge Zambitas up against the wall, and plop down in a chair, sighing wearily. Her frown deepened when she caught his gaze. A 15-year-old boy shouldn't have the look of a wizened 90-year-old man. So I guess you know about Jiraiya. Bunta obviously has been here. I see you've been crying. Hey, you know, he'd love to know that you shed tears for him, that you loved him enough to do that. They shared a mirthless laugh at that and quieted down at the same time. Sorrowfully, she started to ask him about his mission, but he had already begun. We won. They're gone. The Akatsuki is destroyed. We also brought Sasuke back. I'm sure you saw him on top of Akamaru. He's all yours. I want nothing to do with him. Sakura can give you a more complete report than me since she was with the group the whole time. I was quite a ways off fighting Kisame and Pain away from the others. If you don't mind, I'd like to rest for a while before assuming my Sannin duties and reintroducing myself to the spy network. They need to know that they'll be working under me now. Naruto, did something else happen while you were out there? Something that would make you want to leave so soon? He turned sad eyes and a sad smile to her, and she immediately knew it was something to do with Sasuke. I just realized that no matter what, I will never have a place in the heart of the one I love, Bachan. At least as a Sannin I can get away from here finally and maybe find some peace. Who knows, away from here maybe I can find people who will accept me. Naruto, you don't know that. Please at least stay for a week. For me? I need a shoulder to lean on, Naruto. I can't be strong for everyone. Be my shoulder, please? He gave her another small smile and walked around her desk, tugging her to her feet. Her eyes widened one more time as he enveloped her in a hug and whispered in her ear, Go ahead, Tsunade. Let it all out. I'll be your pillar of strength for once. Through her sobbing, she thought to herself, Oh Naruto, you've always been a pillar of strength for everyone. That's when he decided to drop the bomb. Tsunade, who are my parents? Bunta said you knew. Tsunade sighed and hugged him harder. She had wanted Jiraiya there to help her tell him this. But things don't always go like you plan. Releasing him, she sat back down and motioned for him to have a seat as well. Okay. This may be a shocker. You want some sake? Sakura, during all this, had escorted Sasuke to Ibiki and had then asked to talk to Ino. To her credit, Ino didn't think that anything good would come of this conversation. She wanted her friend happy, and after seeing her achieve her dream of kissing Sasuke, you would think she would be on cloud 9. Not the case at all, it seemed. Upon reaching Sakura's house, they went up to her room and sat across from each other on her bed, cross-legged. Let the girl talk begin. Okay, forehead. What gives? You finally got Sasuke's heart, it seems, and you're not happy. What is going on in that head of yours? I don't know what to think, Ino. You would think that I would be happy, but I didn't feel anything when he kissed me. I even kissed him back and nothing. I kept thinking of someone else. Oh. Who? Who? Naruto. Well, that caused a synapse snap in Ino's brain. Naruto? Sure, he looked better now than when he was a kid. He was definitely smarter. He was more powerful than all of them put together, more than likely. And he had a body that most guys would kill for. If it wasn't for the fact that he was oblivious all the time, he might be a better prospect than Sasuke, except for the fact that Sasuke was a traitor and Naruto was one of the most loyal people ever. Naruto? As in your teammate Naruto? The Naruto who has tried to get your affections for years and you've blown him off, Naruto. Yeah, that Naruto. But he saw us kissing and I don't know what to do. Do you like him? Well, yeah, I think I do. Look, Sakura, either you do or you don't. There is no think. You've blown the guy off enough times in the past that he probably gave up on you a long time ago. And if he didn't then, he probably has after that kiss. He saw it all and he didn't speak to hardly anyone on the trip back. You should talk to him, and soon. You're absolutely right. Thank you, Ino. I'll talk to him as soon as I find him. Good luck, Sakura. You're going to need it. Now let's see, if I was Shikamaru, where would I be? After finding out that his parents were Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato, Naruto had been more than dumbfounded. When Tsunade had taken him across town and showed him his family's home, he had been tongue-tied. When he realized that he would have to leave to take on his new duties after landing such a sweet crib and wouldn't be able to explore but a week, he was downtrodden but promised to come back as often as he could. He spent the entire rest of the week exploring his new home. It was huge, with several bedrooms and bathrooms, a hot spring in the back, and acres upon acres of woods and training ground. His favorite room was the master bedroom and held many things that in the short time he spent there he had come to treasure. One above all was a photo of his pregnant mother and his father with a hand each on her stomach. He shed a tear when he saw it the first time, and cried for hours. He had been wanted, he had been loved, and if not for the damnable creature in his stomach, he might have been happy a long time ago, with a father who would have taught him properly and a mother who would have doted on him. Oh well, you can't have everything. Sakura had searched for Naruto for over a week and hadn't found him yet. In fact, no one had seen him. It was like he had become a ghost. She had asked Tsunade where he was, but her master had just told her she wasn't at liberty to say. It was becoming frustrating, and the more she thought about Naruto, the more the butterflies in her stomach became unsettling. She had talked to Ino several times and over the course of a week had discovered that she had feelings for Naruto that she should have acted on a long time ago. As she stomped through the streets, she asked anyone and everyone if they had seen the elusive blonde. After hours of no information, she gave up and decided to visit her master one last time in a last-ditch effort to find him. She walked into the office to find her master sitting in her chair facing the window with a sad look on her face. Her sake, amazingly, was nowhere to be found. Shirsho, I want to know where Naruto is. I need to talk to him and I know you know where he is. Please tell me. I do indeed know where he is, Sakura. He's gone. He left the village to assume his new duties. Duties? What duties? Naruto is still a genin. He can't just leave Konoha on his own. For your information, Naruto hasn't been a genin for over a week. He is the new Toad Sannin and as such can come and go as he pleases. He's gone now to re-establish our spy network, but that could take months, years even. I didn't even get to tell him. Tell him what, dear? That you love him? Sigh Sakura, you've had ample time over the years. I've watched your feelings for him mature and I can't believe that you were so dense as to think he'd wait around forever. However, I can give you some advice. What is it, Shirsho? If you love him, wait for him. He's one of the few worth waiting for, Sakura. And if you can't wait, do the noble thing and move on. Don't play with his emotions. Now then, that said, what about Sasuke? What about him? Yes, at first I wanted him back, but after a while I found I really didn't miss him. He never did anything for me besides be an ass toward me. If I knew then what I know now, I'd have been with that dumb blonde from the get-go. You know, the years Naruto was gone I hardly thought about Sasuke, and I was so excited when he came back, because I knew that he would still be Naruto, he'd never abandon me. Then we grew closer and every time we got closer to bringing Sasuke back, I got closer to Naruto. Will you promise me one thing? Will you tell me when he comes back? I'll tell you as soon as he walks into town. Elsewhere, just on the border of Fire Country sat a blond man under a tree, his two zambatas stabbed in the ground in front of him, his hands resting on each one. In his mindscape were the forms of Samahada and Kubikiri Hocho. Naruto took a deep breath and waited for his swords to begin. First and foremost, you must learn to give us form in the corporeal world. There are no better teachers than us to show you the way of the sword since we absorb everything our previous handlers learned. We will start with one Zanbatsu and work from there till you can wield both of us at once. You will be a swordsman of the utmost regard. We will help you achieve your dream of becoming Hokage. Being able to be outside the country without repercussion will help immensely since our power is very destructive. And there is the fact that as long as you hold me in your possession, the fox cannot sway your decisions or try to take you over because I will absorb his chakra. Now then, force your chakra into me and I will show you how to wield Kubikiri Hocho. Back in the real world, Naruto released Kubikiri and channeled his chakra into Samahada. It absorbed the chakra and the sword slowly dissolved to reveal the likeness of Hashige Kisame. The shark man stood to his full height and grabbed the hilt of Kubikiri Hocho. Ripping it from the ground, Samahada placed the blade on his shoulder and gave a toothy grin to his new handler. Now then, I want you to pay attention to what I do. You will perform these katas until I say it is satisfactory, and then you will perform them some more. Kubikiri is an incomplete sword, Naruto, and it is our hope that you will unlock its true potential and form. You have much to learn and much to do. You may not return home until we consider you our master, understood? Understood, Samahada. Teach me the way of the sword. A sadistic smirk crossed the sharkman's face. Then let the torture begin. A few days after Naruto left on his journey, Sakura was called before the council to give her version of the events of the battle. The rest of the Rookie 9 and Team Guy followed her to watch the proceedings. Many on the council had warmed up to Naruto over the years, but there were still some who showed resentment toward him. Danzo, for instance. The old warhawk always looked for an excuse to get rid of the demon. In the center of the room sat a smirking Sasuke, who just knew that Sakura would plead his case for him. He'd get off scot-free and be happily making Uchiha babies by tomorrow. Konoha needed the Sharingan. There was no way they could do away with him. All eyes were brought to the front when Tsunade cleared her throat. As you all know, Jiraiya died in the line of duty. His name has been added to the memorial stone, and myself and the Toad Sannin Namikaze Naruto, in his memory, have commissioned a special monument. But what we are here for is to decide the fate of one Uchiha Sasuke. The floor is now open for debate. Toad Sannin? Namikaze Naruto? Who in the hell is that? If a new Toad Sannin has been named, then as the holder of the snake contract I demand that I be named the new Snake Sannin. Tsunade slammed her fist on the table in front of her, splintering the wood and sending documents and water glasses everywhere. Her eyes blazed with fury as she glared at the helpless Uchiha. You will hold your tongue, you impudent little whelp. As a traitor and dangerous S-rank noob, you have no rights here right now. Your name means nothing, and as far as I'm concerned, the Uchiha clan and the Sharingan I died 3 years ago when you left. In my opinion, that damnable bloodline should be let to die out. Now I want to hear arguments, for or against the Uchiha, and they better damn well be backed up with facts and make perfect sense. Danzo couldn't hold his tongue anymore and stood to speak. His face was emotionless, and he spoke with an authority that was never to be his to hold, having been denied the Hokageship in his younger years. I believe that we should incarcerate the Uchiha and breed him with select women to enhance the Sharingan, bringing them under our control so that another Uchiha massacre and this disgrace of a ninja in front of us never happens again. The Sharingan is too powerful a weapon to let die, but with the proper guidance, future Uchihas could be this country's most loyal ninja. I vote for life imprisonment with no chance of parole. Any seconds for life imprisonment? There were several hands that went up, and the majority of those in the room voted for imprisonment. Tsunade scowled at this as she believed that a quick death would avoid any problems in the future. Deciding to pick and choose her battles, she moved on to the next topic or tried to when an angry Sasuke decided to make himself known. You can't do this to me. I'm an Uchiha. My clan is the most powerful in this village, and we hold power. I shouldn't be here in chains. I should be on a council seat helping to rule this pitiful village. I should be Hokage for all I've given for this village. I killed Orochimaru, I killed Itachi. Are my good deeds not put into consideration? Hyuga Heishi rose from his chair and glared at the boy in the center of the room. His voice took on an even more chilling quality than it normally did. And what deeds would those be, Sasuke? Betraying the village, trying to kill numerous ninja of the village, aiding and abetting Orochimaru? Do you think whatever missions you did as a genin of this village far outweigh your sins against it? You sit there and act in contempt of your home village and yet expect mercy. I would like to recast my vote for death of both Uchiha Sasuke and the Sharingan. Clearly, no matter how helpful it is in battle, the truth is that Konoha has been without a Sharingan for years and got along fine. And for your information, young one person does not a clan make. Shut up, you stupid bastard. We Uchiha are the elite of this village, and this council would be stupid to let us die out. This bloodline is far too valuable to let go. Besides, I have enough people to argue my case for me. Isn't that right, Sakura? All eyes rested on the pink-haired Kunoichi, and she drew in a sharp breath. Cutting her eyes at her friends standing against the wall, she saw sympathetic looks on their faces. None were happy at how Sasuke was acting. The one person missing was Naruto, who really should have been there to give his input, but he had other duties. She really wished he were there right then, giving encouragement and helping her along. Her thoughts were interrupted by the rasping chuckle of Sasuke. Kukukukuku, come now, Sakura, you know you love me. Didn't that kiss mean anything? It's what you always wanted, remember? You can't let me die or you'll die with me. Her eyes narrowed at that comment, and all of her killing intent was focused on her once former love interest. Was that a threat, Uchiha? Of course not. Just saying that you said once you would do anything for me, that you loved me above all. You even offered to leave the village with me, remember? Yes, I do remember. I remember that I was a stupid little girl with a crush and that you never gave a damn about me, or Ino, or any of the girls who professed their love to you. You were always a cold, frigid bastard. And answer me truthfully, why do you laugh like Orochimaru? It's really freaking creepy. I absorbed his soul. He's inside me. Eyes all around the room went wide as dinner plates. Tsunade was the first to break her stupor. Is he sealed? Can he get out? Sasuke scoffed, and raised his chin defiantly. Of course he isn't sealed. I'm not a seal master. It's sheer willpower holding him back. We Uchihas are naturally strong-willed. Yeah, because we all know how strong-willed you were when you ran to Orochimaru. Or all the times the seal Kakashi-sensei put on you failed because of your willpower. Oh, that was low, Sakura. I was young then and very impressionable. Can any of you tell me that you wouldn't have run to someone for more power in my case? Naruto never ran to anyone for more power, Sasuke. And he had reason to destroy this entire village. Naruto never gave in to the fox's offers of power. He resisted and he never ran away. He never stole from his comrades. He never ran away from those who loved him or those who despised him. He trudged forward, even though the road he traveled was rocky and broken in places. Your road was paved, Sasuke, and yet you chose to wander off your golden road and into a forest of delusions and a den of snakes. You betrayed Konoha and you shouldn't be given special treatment because of your eyes. Tsunade-sama, I, Nara Shikaku, would like to change my vote to death. A chorus of voices rang out, all calling for death. Sorry, Sasuke, thought Sakura, but your sins are too heavy. This is the real world and clans mean nothing if their members aren't loyal to their village. I'm so sorry. Danzo, angered beyond measure, yelled out over the din. We cannot execute the Uchiha. He is the last of his kind. We would lose a great weapon. That is quite enough, Danzo. Sarutobi-sensei let you run around unhindered for entirely too long. I've known about your little underground movement for months now, and I might as well deal with you as well while we're all here. Bah. Even if I were doing anything illegal, you would have no proof. I'm smart, Tsunade. I always cover my tracks, and perhaps. But if I had a character witness who knew of all your inner proceedings, then you'd really be on the chop block, wouldn't you? Sai. In walked Sai, as emotionless as ever, and he knelt in front of Tsunade. Yes, Tsunade-sama? How may I be of service? I wish for you to tell of Danzo's goings-on in the root forces. Sai, if you say one word, I'll have you killed. You serve me, remember? Sai scowled at this and for once looked purely emotional. I remember many things, Danzo-san. But I know many more. I know that it was you who stole away my emotions when I was very young. I know that it was you who got my brother killed. I know that you were in collusion with Orochimaru. I know you tried to kill Naruto many times. I know that if it were up to you, Sasuke would be free and under your thumb, or so you would believe. Sai then smiled. A warm, small, genuine smile that just seemed right on his face. It was not the fake, creepy smile that he usually wore. This smile reminded everyone of one person, Naruto. I've regained many things in my short travels with Naruto and Sakura. I've learned to value friendship. I've learned to regain some of my humanity. I've learned that having someone to joke around with and cause general mayhem with is enjoyable. I've actually learned to smile. I'm happy. In my opinion, making people into mindless drones goes against the ninja code. Unpredictability is a ninja's greatest weapon, and the ninja en route are anything but. It needs to be disbanded. And as far as the Uchiha is concerned, I remember a time when you wanted me to assassinate the Uchiha if he couldn't be brought back. What does it matter now? Naruto is worth hundreds of times more than the Uchiha. Let his death happen. I, for one, will not bear a heavy conscience for it. Sai looked at Sakura and offered her a small smile and a reassuring thumbs up. She returned both gestures and marveled at Naruto's ability to change people. This thought turned her thoughts inward, and she wondered if she would ever see his bright face again. Hear that annoying, yet charming voice, laugh at his antics, and berate him for them at the same time. She was brought out of her thoughts by the shout of Danzo. Root! Protect me! Suddenly several of the Root Umbu emerged from nowhere and surrounded Danzo. All had their swords drawn, and when Danzo told them to execute Sai for treachery, they stared at the stoic boy. Sai merely gazed at them and raised his hand. Loose. A gurgling noise was heard, and everyone looked to see Danzo impaled by a sword from every angle. His own root had turned against him. You can only bottle up emotion for so long before the bottle breaks. Emotions are simply too volatile to be held. The body of Danzo was dragged from the room, and all eyes turned back to the Uchiha, who had fallen strangely silent. Tsunade stood and motioned to Hayashi and Shikaku to come before her. Uchiha Sasuke, for your crimes against Konoha, your sentence is death, to be carried out immediately. Gentlemen, a shout of Kageme no Jutsu was heard, and a shadow shot across the floor to the kneeling Uchiha, who raised slowly to his feet, his arms stretched out, his body forming a cross. Shikaku nodded his head to Hayashi, who activated his Byakugan. Before he could rush forward, the Uchiha snapped, and a strangely familiar voice was heard. Tsunade! I will not let this come to pass. He is my vessel, and you will not ruin my dreams of immortality for a petty grudge. I will not be destroyed so easily. He is mine. Mine and mine alone. Kukukukuku, you impudent fools. You are all going to die by my hands. The voice of Orochimaru was coming from Sasuke's mouth, but before any more could be said, Hayashi rushed forward and sealed every tenketsu he saw, starting with the ones around the eyes. His body completely immobilized, Orochimaru could only watch in horror as all his ambitions were crushed. If only he could have broken the boy's spirit sooner, this would never have come to pass. Tsunade's low voice broke him from his thoughts. So you really were in there, Orochimaru? So, two birds with one stone. Fitting, really. You deserve no less than death at the hands of a Hyuga, since many of your experiments were on Hyugas. Hayashi, carry out the sentence. At the moment before Hayashi struck, Shikaku released his jutsu and stood with absolute resolve. Hayashi struck the heart of Uchiha Sasuke, making it explode, and the body slumped to the floor. Tsunade stepped forward and formed a chakra scalpel, severing vital organs and making sure he was actually dead. Sure that the deed was done, she turned to the gathering of shinobi. I am truly sorry for all that has transpired here today. I wish things could have gone differently, but it was not to be so. A promising shinobi is dead because of idiotic ideals and a madman's dreams. Let us all remember this, and each take a lesson from it. I for one will never allow hatred to consume me or let myself be overcome by desire. I will not dwell on the past, and I will not dream of life everlasting. I wish to see my loved ones again in the next life. I wish to see Jiraiya and Sarutobi-sensei. I want to see my grandfather and granduncle again. I want to see my parents and Nawaki. I want to see Dan again. I want to hold him. I can't do that if I never allow myself to die. The price of immortality is too high. Let us all remember that. Tsunade-sama, what shall we do with the bodies? Destroy them. Leave no trace. Take the ash and pour it into the ocean. Let the water wash away the abominations that were these shinobi. Let their names be stricken from any record of this village. Destroy them completely. I'm retiring now. I trust the rest of you to take care of this. Will all the young ninja follow me to my office? I have something to tell all of you. Arriving back at Tsunade's office, she sat in her chair and cracked open a bottle of sake. Today had been a day of reckoning, and she deserved a drink. Sighing happily after sipping from her dish, she turned to address the small crowd. I'm sorry you all had to witness the death of a classmate, but it had to be done. This is the real world and traitors are not tolerated. He was young, but the day he put on a hitayate he was an adult, and as such his choices were his own. Now then, the reason I called you all here was to tell you what became of Naruto, since I'm sure you've noticed he's not here. Naruto is the new Toad Sannin, and as such his duties will take him away from the village for long amounts of time. As he has assumed a role of the village that will put him in constant danger, his true identity will no longer be hidden from anyone. I am to announce tomorrow who he truly is. Who he is. Tsunade-sama, forgive me, but he is Uzumaki Naruto. He is our friend and nothing will change that. His flames of youth will never be extinguished. So I thank you for your most youthful outburst, Lee, but his name is not Uzumaki Naruto. His true name is Namikaze Naruto, and he is the container of the Kyuubi. He is the greatest hero of this village and the son of our greatest Hokage, Namikaze Minato. That is who your friend is, Lee. My friend is the son of the Yondaime. My greatest and most youthful rival is a demon container. He holds great responsibility and a heavy burden. Lee hung his head and Tenten put a hand on his shoulder. He was shaking and she could see tears coming from his eyes. Lee, my most youthful rival. I shall train myself twice, no 3 times as hard, and whenever you return we shall face each other in a youthful battle. Together we shall prove that hard work trumps genius. Aya, I feel so much better now. You stupid idiot. You had me worried. Tenten knocked the poor bowl haircut boy over the head, knocking him out, before dragging his youthful butt out of the office muttering about youthful idiots and stupid Toad Sennins, making everyone laugh at their antics. Suddenly a strung-out Anko burst into the office. Tsunade-sama. The curse mark on my shoulder, it's gone. It started sizzling and then just disappeared. What does it mean? Orochimaru tried to take over Uchiha Sasuke but failed and was locked away in his consciousness. We executed the Uchiha earlier today, and thus Orochimaru perished along with him. With his soul no longer bound to this world, his curse mark had nothing to hold on to. You're free, Anko, you're a free woman. Before you go and celebrate though, I want you to know that I need to talk to you later concerning the snake contract. Understood? A happily crying Anko just nodded her head and ran out shouting that she was finally free. Tsunade merely shook her head and dismissed everyone. She'd had enough excitement for the day, and a supremely happy, hyperactive Anko wasn't helping. All the young ninja filed out of her office except one. Sakura decided that she wanted a few more questions answered. Shursho, did Naruto give you a time frame of when he'd return? No, Sakura, he didn't. He spent the entire week in his clan house, finding answers. Just remember what I said to you earlier. If you love him, when he comes back, grab him and tell him. Don't live life with regrets, Sakura. I can guarantee when he returns that he won't be the same Naruto though. You might not like this new Naruto, it doesn't matter. Even if he puts on a new act, he'll still be lovable, old Naruto. He may not like me now, but I'll follow his example and keep at it until I make him see how wrong I was. All I want is another chance. You do realize that he'll probably just think that he's second best, that you're only trying to be with him because Sasuke is gone? Why would he think he's second best? He would never. Oh, right. The past. I guess I have my work cut out for me, huh? Indeed you do, dear. But will the effort be worth it? Sakura looked Tsunade dead in the eyes and smirked. He's worth the effort and much more, Shursho. Much, much more. After 4 months, Naruto had Kubikiri Hocho mastered to the point where the sword was now a feather. Samehada was a slave driver, demanding that he perform katas of all types, including some forgotten styles. The principle behind the unfinished form of Kubikiri was slashing and hacking, no finesse whatsoever really. It was merely learning how to hold the sword properly so that no motion was wasted and his speed did not suffer because of the weight of the sword. After week 1, Samehada had decided that he was still too fast, so weights were added to the sword and Naruto. Unless he focused chakra to his feet, he would leave deep impressions in the ground. Once he could sling the blade through the katas like it was a kitchen knife, Samehada declared his training with Kubikiri over. Now his focus would be on Samehada. Focusing his chakra into Kubikiri Hocho, the figure of Zabuza appeared and picked up one of the nameless Zambatas that Naruto had purchased in the mist. Now then, Naruto, it's time to learn how to wield Samehada to its full ability. You will not be allowed to acquire my true form until you have mastered both of us individually, and then as a tandem. Wielding 2 Zambatas at once is a feat that has never been attempted nor mastered. This will be your style and totally unique to you. Now then, Samehada is a much heavier sword than I, and even though you can wield it with no problem, after a prolonged battle, fatigue will set in quickly. We'll need to build up your strength and endurance with it even more. If you thought Samahata was a taskmaster, then you haven't seen anything yet. Now give me 2,000 slashes each, up, down, side to side, diagonally, and finish with thrusts and spins. Once you can do these for 2 hours straight without faltering, we will begin with katas for Samahata. Well, what are you waiting for? Begin. It took Naruto another 6 months to wield Samahata to a point where he could fight with it for 3 hours without fail. Samahata was all about thrusting and ripping, shaving as Kisame used to say. The two Zambatas taught Naruto that as a tandem, Samahata was the lead 70 of the time. Its job was to shave the flesh away, making it easier for Kubikiri to cut through whatever the target was. Distraction was another component of the tandem. If your opponent was melding chakra, a quick swipe of Samahata could ruin their day. Stealing your opponent's chakra was a nasty trick, but Naruto was fast learning to let go of such silly ideals as fairness in a fight. His job was to obtain information by any means necessary. He had no room for niceties. After being away from Konoha for a year and a half, Naruto was at the point where he could learn to wield both swords at once. He had to make a trip to Mist again and purchase 2 more Zambatas so that his 2 taskmasters could train him correctly. He would wield 2 of the nameless Zambatas, and they would wield the other 2, attacking him simultaneously while he tried his best to wound them. Handling 2 huge swords together was harder than it seemed. He had to concentrate hard and try to keep the 2 swords from clashing together. It was almost like a dance, with heavy swords and partners that were trying to kill you. This went on for weeks until the 4 nameless blades were battered and cracked, their sharpness dulled, and the edges serrated. Naruto had come far in this unknown art, and the 2 master swords had decided today would be the day he completed his training. They stood in front of him, swords at the ready. All right, boy. Today is the day you complete the dance and become our master. There will be no mistakes on your part. Those blades will never touch each other once, and it will only end when you have beaten the 2 of us into submission. Understood? Samahata received a nod and the 2 master blades rushed in, swinging the serrated blades from opposite sides. Naruto bent backwards and thrust his blades into the ground, flipping backwards and landing in a crouch before ripping them out of the ground and taking up his stance, one arm out, the sword held upright, the other arm in front of him, with the blade held horizontally in a reverse hold. It allowed him to either crash downward on his opponent, or make a quick spin and eviscerate. With his speed and strength, either one could break the guard, and with the weight that Samahata and Kubikiri Hocho had, could break an opponent's sword in 2 or cleave a kunai in half. He leapt at Samahata and spun quickly, shattering the nameless blade and leaving it with half a sword. At the exact moment he felt the sword break, he had rounded on Kubikiri, and brought the other Zanbatsu down into his shoulder. As soon as his feet touched the ground, he somersaulted back away from the 2 and stood upright again with a smirk on his face. Don't get cocky, boy. You haven't won yet. Kubikiri grabbed Samahata's hand and spun him around in a circle before flinging him at Naruto. Totally unprepared for a move like this, he brought up a Zanbatsu just in time to block the broken blade and kick Samahata in the stomach, launching him back to Kubikiri. I need to end this quickly, thought Naruto. He spread his legs and prepared to dance. Holding one sword out in front with the blade facing his opponent, and the other sword held behind with the blade facing out, Naruto began his dance. Stepping lightly, he began to spin toward the master blades, slowly becoming a miniature tornado. Thinking on his feet, he began to filter wind around the blades, sharpening their already dull blades, and made his move. The 2 master swords were astounded by the force being generated by the cyclone. Flashes of metal and blonde were seen in bits and pieces as the vortex got closer and closer, until they felt their feet being swept away from them and into the middle where Naruto waited for them with a smirk. The master blade's eyes went wide as he jerked the 2 swords into twin thrusts and put them through the guts of the folk Kisame and Zabuza, effectively ending the test. Saiyan, Kubikiri Hocho, and the 2 nameless Zanbatsu clattered to the floor, their forms obliterated by the attack. Naruto flung all 4 broken and battered swords in each direction before picking up his newly mastered weapons and thrusting them into the ground, pulling himself into the mindscape where he was met with the sound of hands clapping. Very good, boy. You have proven yourself worthy of us. Becoming a master of dual-wielding Zanbatsu is a true feat in itself. Your legend will most assuredly be passed down by not only ninja but kenjutsu users everywhere. We're proud of you, and there is only one more thing to do. You must break the blade of Kubikiri off at the hilt and form a new blade. Force as much chakra as you can into the hilt and clear your mind. Kubikiri will take care of the rest. Now go, master. We can't wait to serve you. Naruto bid his blades farewell and returned to the waking world. Grabbing Kubikiri by the hilt, he braced his foot against the blade and pulled with all his might, snapping it off at the base. Standing away from Samahata because he didn't want it accidentally absorbing any chakra, he began to pump his massive wells into the hilt. He cleared his mind and focused on the chakra. Slowly the faint outline of a sword appeared and became clearer and clearer until a wave of energy washed over him, and he opened his eyes with a gasp to see his new blade in all its glory. The blade was 6 feet long, and 5 inches wide and serrated the whole way down. It appeared blue, but in certain lights it was silver, yet had no reflection. There was writing by the base of the hilt, and Naruto brought it to his face to read the tiny kanji. The way of the Zanbatsu is the way of destruction. The purpose of the Zanbatsu is to maintain the peace. The will of my master sharpens the blade and brings happiness to those that deserve it, and death to those who do not. Is this your creed, Kubikiri? No, master. It is yours. These are your innermost thoughts made manifest. This blade is an extension of yourself, and therefore will bend to your will. Let your heart's own words guide you in life. You deserve happiness, master, and we will help you to find it. You are denying yourself happiness, and do not even know it. What do you mean? In due time you will see, master. In the meantime, you have been neglecting the information network. Let us go and see if there is anything new. The Chunin exams are coming up soon in Konoha, are they not? Let us see if there are any plans like there were in the past. Slinging the blades to his back, he walked off in the direction of the nearest town. Yes, let's get this over with and then we'll go home. I wish to see Konoha again. One last thing, master, before you take off. You have unlocked my true form and it is magnificent, that is true. But Samahata has an ability that has not been revealed and it is sure to help you in battle. Is that true, Samahata? You have an ability that I can use besides the ability to eat chakra? Indeed I do, master. What do you think happens to the chakra that I eat? It doesn't simply disappear over time. It's stored up inside me until I release it. I can take what chakra you have and shape it into whatever jutsu you wish to perform as long as you have performed that jutsu while holding me before. So you can make a Rasengan? Or a Kage Bunshin? Or any of my jutsus as long as I wield you while performing the hand signs? Yes, I can. It is an ability that I have never given a wielder the opportunity to use because none of them were worthy. You, master, are the only one I give this ability to. Hold me in front of you and form a Rasengan in your other hand. Naruto held Samahata in his left hand and held it level with the ground while forming Rasengan with his right. He felt the familiar swirl in his palm, but soon felt a tugging on his chakra and looked to Samahata and his jaw dropped. There, on the tip of the sword, was a perfect Rasengan, ready to go. There we are. Rasengan, ready to go. Not bad, huh, master? No, not bad at all. Say, can you move that anywhere on the blade? Yes, I can. I can form it anywhere on my body I wish. Why do you ask? I believe that we just found out that you can be more than a distraction. If I swing you and you have a Rasengan activated at the exact point of impact, we could destroy pretty much anyone. The only problem is that you absorb too much chakra to do it too much mid-battle. Perhaps I have a solution to that. When we reach the nearest town, rent a hotel room and eat for the night. Do all you can and turn in as early as you can because my idea will have you knocked out for the rest of the night. What do you have in mind, brother? Why, we're going to charge your batteries, brother. As much chakra as our master has, you could absorb it all now and use it later. All he would have to do is recharge you periodically and voila. You're ready to go at any moment. Naruto smiled as his blades plotted in his mind. He silently thanked the gods that he had come across them in his travels. Hearing the two master blades argue and plot was much better than hearing an angry and bitter Kyuubi, who he hadn't spoken to in nearly 2 years. Alright guys. We're heading for the nearest town and then after we charge Samahata we're going to inform the network to keep up the work before we head home. Don't want those slackers getting soft on us now, do we? And with that he was off and running. His speed had improved greatly over the course of time and even with weights on him and the swords his speed was high jounin level. He reached the nearest town in less than 2 hours and checked into an inn. He hadn't thought he'd been that far from civilization, but he had been training in one of the most remote parts of Rain Country that they had to offer. No one knew he was there, so it wasn't like anyone would come looking. After receiving odd looks from everyone for the 2 huge Zambatas on his back, he had finally got his room and flopped down on the bed, noticing that while it was soft, it lacked the charm and comfort of his bed in his house. He smiled and thought how he wanted nothing more than to go home and lose himself in that house, let the memories that could have been his take him away and let all the pain of loneliness ease for a while. Rising from his rest he went to get something to eat and then shower before knocking himself unconscious from chakra exhaustion. Upon returning from his self-assigned deeds, Naruto sat cross-legged on the bed and placed Samahata in front of him, before resting his hands on the blade. He concentrated on pushing as much chakra as he could into the blade and realized after about a half hour that he had way more chakra than he thought he did. He still had about half of his reserves full and he hadn't even drawn on the fox's chakra. After an hour he was drained and he flopped back onto the bed, still lying on top of the covers. Luckily it wasn't chilly out that night. In his mindscape Kubikiri and Samahata were talking while Naruto just sat and watched, listening to them. So was I right or was I right? Master has much more chakra than we thought. Are you insane? Do you know how much he pumped into me? I didn't think I could hold that much. He has more chakra than 20 Kisames. I'll be able to do Rasengans for a year with what he gave me. And to think that by tomorrow morning his reserves will be full again. We chose well, brother. Indeed we did, brother, indeed we did. But why did you choose me? I still don't know why I was worthy when such strong men as Kisame and Zabuza were better handlers. They may have been better swordsmen than you, master, but they also had several years on you in that department. They were trained as swordsmen first, ninjas second. You are the opposite and therefore you have more potential than them to wield us correctly. You have no mold and therefore can use us as you see fit, not as others would have you use us. This is true. You are noble in every sense of the word, and your ability to throw chakra around like it was candy at a parade is most astounding. The fox has little to do with that. That is all you master. Well, I'm happy if you guys are happy. When I wake up, it'll take a while to inform the whole network of my plans. We should be back in Konoha in a few months. I'll have been gone for a little over 2 years, I think. Good night, you two. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Naruto faded from his mindscape as the two stood and watched him. Samahata turned to his brother and gave him a toothy grin. I can't wait to see what Master is fully capable of. And his friends will be shocked to see him, won't they? He has changed much physically over the years, hasn't he? He had to if he wanted to wield us properly. I don't think I've met anyone who got so big so quickly. I just wish he wouldn't let himself be so sad over things that happened in the past. You noticed the looks the girl gave him on the way back, didn't you? He loved her, and yet he denies himself of her love. I don't understand our master sometimes. He was hurt by what he saw her doing with the Uchiha boy. I don't believe that she meant for that to happen if her appearance said anything. She kept throwing him sorrowful looks coming back to Konoha, and he wouldn't let himself look at her. We should not interfere, though. It is his decision to make. Doesn't mean I like it, brother, but I believe you are right. I wish he would let her make him happy or find someone who does. His mind is such a dark place without light in his life. The few times he has been happy while we've been with him have been marvelous. Light was everywhere, and there was such warmth, but soon the darkness and the cold came back. I hope this ends soon. Once Naruto woke up, he began the task of moving about, making sure his network kept up their end of the deal. After a few months of cracking skulls and making payments to his informants, he started back toward Konoha. He walked along leisurely, always making sure that he kept chakra to his feet so that he wouldn't leave prints for an enemy to follow. He was quite happy and was whistling a tune as he walked. He had bought a battle cloak in Suna and had one of their masterful tailors put weights into its shoulder and upper back area. They weighed several hundred pounds but kept him from being harmed in that area. It flowed behind him and made a flapping sound in the breeze. Yes, life was good at the moment for one Namikaze Naruto. He was broken from his thoughts by the sound of yelling and battle. Deciding that since he was in fire country, and it might be some fellow Konoha nins, he ran to battle while drawing his Zambatas, which hummed in anticipation. Kiba growled in frustration as he dodged yet another kick from an Oto nin. This was just not his day. He, Lee, Hinata, and Sakura had been part of a detail to escort a royal official to Konoha to see Tsunade. The old man was currently cowering behind Sakura and Hinata, who had taken up posts in front of him while he had his back to a tree. Lee was everywhere at once, it seemed, but there was only so much he could do before he ran out of steam. Akamaru was ripping out throats when he could, but it seemed that these ninja had found the frequency that hurt dog ears and were using it to their advantage, causing Kiba and Akamaru to become disoriented several times. A particularly nasty kick from an Oto Jounin sent him into the tree where the old man was, and he grunted in pain and frustration. Lee jumped over to help, and now they were surrounded. Perfect, Kiba thought, and I had planned on taking Hinata out again tonight. Lee himself was having an internal battle. It didn't stand to reason why these Oto nin were this far into fire country. He was running out of energy fast, and he didn't really want to open any gates unless he had to. The girls were bruised and beaten up as well, and there wasn't much more they could do. The enemy ninja had jumped them first and tried to take them out, but Hinata killed one with a strike to the heart, and Sakura caved one's head in with a punch. He almost smiled at that, but remembered that they were surrounded. Unless a miracle happened, he didn't think their client would make it to Konoha alive. Hinata was beside herself. She was supposed to be there for these types of ambushes because of her Byakugan. She should have seen them coming. She should have been more prepared. She was supposed to go to dinner with Kiba tonight. Shaking her head, she cleared her mind of any needs or wants. She couldn't think about those things right now. They had to protect the dignitary, they couldn't let him die. If only they had some more help. They were completely outnumbered. Sakura was lost in her own thoughts, even as she fought off more ninja. Where had they come from? How did they know about this mission? It was as if someone had compromised it by telling Oto about how important the man was to Tsunade. He was a very high-ranking court official and one of her old gambling partners. Figures that she'd want someone like him protected well. She took a punch in the gut and fell to her knees beside Akamaru, who jumped in front of her growling. This isn't how it was supposed to go. I want to see him again, just one last time. I want to at least say I'm sorry before I die. Oh Kami, please, just one last time. She was broken from her thoughts when the Oto nin in the back of the circle suddenly screamed and were dragged into the bushes by some unseen force. A sickening scream was heard before it was silenced forever. A figure burst from the bushes, leaping high and landing in front of the Konoha nin, crouched on all fours like an animal, putting a crater in the ground from his weight. Before standing at his full height of 6 feet 9 inches, Sakura took in the view, or what view she could, since he was half turned toward them and half turned toward the enemy. He was very tall, and had sun-kissed blonde hair that came to the middle of his back, held in a ponytail with a red ribbon. The hair on top held back by a Hittite with horns. The tail of the battle coat flowed in the breeze, the black flames at the bottom of the orange coat seeming to dance, exposing his loose, black shinobi pants and sandals. He was broad-shouldered and very muscular if the bulging red muscle shirt was any indication. His hands were clad in black leather gloves with metal plates on the back of the hand, and he had the blonde stubble of a growing beard. She had only noticed the man, however, and gasped when she saw him reach for his weapons. She had completely ignored the two huge Zanbatus on his back. Her teammates, however, had noticed them first. How could someone use two Zanbatu? It just wasn't possible. They were further shocked when he had grabbed the hilt of each one in a hand and then held them in front of him parallel to the ground before speaking. I hate Otonin. I absolutely hate them. I'll leave none of you alive. And with that he rushed forward and began to hack and slash and rip apart the nins. He used no finesse, tearing apart the weaker ninja until he came to the leader of the group. The Oto Jounin was obviously skilled and was a kenjutsu user himself. He pulled his sword and took his stance before addressing the huge man in front of him. One of us will not leave here today. I see that you are the Toad Sannin of Konoha, but I do not know your name. You are famous among kenjutsu users with your mastery of two Zanbatus. My name is Abarai Kensuk. Please tell me your name so that if I am killed I know the name of an honorable swordsman. I was not aware that Otogekyo ninja had honor, but I will tell you my name anyway. It is Namikaze Naruto, and I am indeed the Toad Sannin of Konoha. Now prepare yourself for my dance. Naruto wasted no time in going into his favorite dance. Samahata was thrust at the enemy and ripped away flesh from his abdomen, while Kubikiri was right behind him and stuck the man through the gut. The speed with which he moved was astounding for all watching, since the huge swords should have impeded such movement. Lee knew that he had to be as fast as him without the weights, but that didn't account for the fact that the swords never clashed as he danced around the enemy, shaving him of flesh and putting holes into him. His dance finished, Naruto stood over his fallen opponent and turned Samahata so that he held the hilt with the tip of the sword held over the man's gut. Chakra began to form at the tip until a familiar blue ball swirled, making the man's eyes widen, and he gazed fearfully up at the scowling face of Naruto. Your form was pathetic at best. Oto nins are never a challenge. Rasengan. He drove the sphere into the man's gut, straight through to the ground, and drew Samahata back out, and slung it to his back first, followed by Kubikiri. He turned back to face his fellow Konoha nin and finally noticed who they were. His grin faltered a bit when he saw a head of pink hair, but he kept up his facade and kept grinning. They all stood slack-jawed in awe, and their client was having to roll his tongue back into his mouth. I just can't catch a damn break where she's concerned. Kami must really hate me. He didn't hear Samahata and Kubikiri laughing in his mind. Hey guys, how's it going? Now there are several things that ninja are conditioned to. Killing is one. Blood is another. The death of a comrade is hard to take, but you accept it and move on. However, seeing someone who is close to you after over 2 years and not recognizing him or her at first glance is hard to take in, especially when they tower over you and are wielding two giant swords like they're nothing. When they've changed almost everything about them, when their voice has changed to a deeper octave, when they now have a beard growing of all things, and when they were once under your station but are now so far over you in power that it isn't funny. The first to recover was Kiba with his excellent observation. Dude, that was fucking awesome. How in the hell do you wield those heavy-ass swords like it's nothing? What happened to you? You're at least a foot taller than me. What's with the beard? Can I hold the sword? Before his rambling could get any worse, he was knocked on the head by Hinata, shutting him up, before she moved to embrace the taller man. Wrapping her arms around his waist, she realized that she and Sakura didn't even come up to his shoulders. Too bad her heart belonged to Kiba, because he was more handsome than ever. It is good to see you again, Naruto. We've all missed you so much. Yes, my rival. Your return is most fortuitous. I cannot wait to have a spar against you after that most youthful display of speed. No swords though, okay? I don't want to get cut up. How did you channel the Rasengan through that weird blade anyway? Lee. Don't ask that right now. Just be glad to see him again. Were you returning to Konoha, Naruto? Would you walk with us the rest of the way? Of course I will, Hinata. And it is good to see all of you again as well. If you'll wake Kiba up, we'll be on our way. Akamaru, you'll carry him, right? A bark was his answer, and he turned to their client and smiled. Hello, Yamamoto. It is good to see you again as well. Going to collect your debts from the old hag? Haha, no, not this time, Naruto. I'm simply going to discuss arrangements for the upcoming Chunin exams. I believe your return is most fortunate as well. You will be valuable as a guard for the Hokage and her dignitaries. I will serve Tsunade without question, although I don't know if I'll be needed as a guard. While everyone else was chatting it up, Sakura stood silent, drinking in the appearance and attitude of the man she loved. He had changed so much, and yet he still was able to make everyone around him feel so comfortable. He had so many connections outside of Konoha and yet was still so reviled inside the gates. She took in his looks one last time. The plate on his forehead gave him an almost regal bearing. It almost looked like a crown. His battle cloak was no longer flowing, but she could still see the well-toned body underneath. He was muscled all right, not like a bodybuilder but enough where it was more than attractive. The stubble on his chin made him more mature, but she liked him without it. It made his boyish good look stand out more. She was broken out of her thoughts when Lee asked the question. Naruto, why are you sinking into the ground? You've left a foot impression everywhere you stepped in battle. Oops. I guess I forgot to channel chakra to my feet. The weights I wear are tremendous, Lee. Here, take my coat. There's a sample. He shucked his coat off and threw it at Lee. As soon as it hit the spandex wearing ninja, it flattened him to the ground and he struggled to get out from under it with wide eyes. That coat weighed almost as much as his heaviest weights. Kiba had to help him get it off and they both looked at Naruto like he was a freak before seeing what the reaction of the girls was. Kiba smirked when he saw that Hinata had looked away with her face red. No doubt the guy had a body that most would kill for. He then looked at Sakura and saw her staring at Naruto in a daze, with blood dripping out of her nose. Sensing that she was ripe for teasing, he made his move. Oh, Sakura. Stop drooling all over Naruto and help out here. And wipe your nose, that's disgusting. Naruto raised his eyebrow at this and turned to see Sakura hastily wiping her nose, her face entirely red. He didn't really think anything of it, however, since he usually got that reaction every time he took off his coat. One of the reasons he bought the damn thing. He caught the coat deftly from the ground with one hand and swung it back on with a flourish. Swinging his swords to his back, he started walking toward Konoha again, the others rushing to catch up. After an hour of walking, Sakura had finally been thrust up to walk with Naruto in the front. It had been no secret that she missed the boy in the 2 years he was gone, and she had pretty much professed her love for him in all but words. Hinata, Kiba, and Lee had all told her to go up to him, but she had denied all their requests with "I'm not ready to face him yet." Akamaru, finally tired of the kunoichi's denial, began snapping at her ankles and herded her to the front before walking back to his master with a doggy smirk, earning him a glare from Sakura and another amused raised brow from Naruto. Resigning herself to fate and hoping for the best, she took the plunge. "So how have you been, Naruto?" "Fine. Well, that was a good talk. I see you've gotten stronger. How'd you learn all those moves?" "Training." "Shinaro. What the hell is wrong with him? Be more forceful with your words, damn it." "All right already." But before she could say anything, he asked her a question. "So how are you and Sasuke doing?" "Oh god. He thinks I'm seeing Sasuke? He doesn't know? Sasuke was executed, Naruto. He died right after you left. They killed Danzo the same day too." "I see. I'm sorry for your loss. I don't know how hard it must have been on you." "It wasn't as hard as it seemed. Sasuke had committed so many sins, Naruto. I got over the pain quickly." So what are you going to do when we get back to Konoha?" "Whatever Tsunade wants me to do." "Want to get some ramen with me? My treat?" "No, I won't impose on you. I'm sure you have other things to do besides waste time with me. I'm sure you have a significant other who would object." "Aha. So that's it, is it? Reel him in quick. Don't let him get away." "I don't have a boyfriend, Naruto. So no worries, okay?" "The answer is still no. I won't be a burden." "You're not a burden, Naruto." "I said no." "Fine. I'll just ask you later then." Before he could respond, she moved back to the others. He scowled and furrowed his brow. So Sasuke was executed, huh? No skin off his nose, but he refused to be second best just because that bastard wasn't around anymore. In the back of his mind, Samehada and Kubikiri were stomping around and cursing his stupidity. How could their master be so clueless? He was denying his happiness yet again. Sakura, meanwhile, had made it back to the safety beside Hinata. "So? How did it go, Sakura?" He's so cold toward me, Hinata." "Why is he so cold?" "Perhaps he thinks that you still love Sasuke even if he is dead. Perhaps he thinks you pity him. Or perhaps he thinks you see him as a silver medal, especially with how he looks now. But I don't see him as those things. I've loved him since he came back. Why won't he see that? Why does he push me away like he doesn't know me?" Hinata allowed herself a small smile and patted her friend's back. "It hurts, doesn't it? Rejection from someone you truly care about? I know that feeling. When Naruto told me that he didn't see me that way, I was devastated. But then he told me that he loved me as a friend and would do anything to see me happy, even at the cost of his life. He helped me find Kiba. He helped me find true happiness. For some reason though, Sakura, he can't find his own. You'll have to help him find it. He thinks he's not worth love. Convince him otherwise. It'll just take time and persistence." "Thank you, Hinata. And when did you get so deep? I didn't think you thought like that." "I don't. He does." She pointed her finger at the back of Naruto as he trudged along. Sakura smiled. The idiot she grew up with was very philosophical when he wanted to be. She'd keep at it. She'd make him see her for her love, for who she truly loved. Sasuke was nothing compared to Naruto. Her prize lay before her, and all it would take is a shitload of hard work to get it. Oh well. It'll be worth it in the end. Look at that ass. Yes, very worth it. Shut the hell up. Although, I have to admit, he does have a nice ass. Yes, indeed he do. She was broken from her thoughts by Naruto's voice. "We're stopping here for the night. We'll continue in the morning." As they sat around the campfire, no one really spoke. Naruto had sent his shadow clones to patrol and they kept the perimeter all night. At some point he had finally dozed off leaning against a tree, his swords in front of him. No one could touch them without their consent, so it wasn't like they were unprotected. The rest of the group watched him nod off and quickly formed a plan to see what the swords were all about. Kiba volunteered to grab Samehada while Sakura went for Kubikiri. They crept toward the swords, but when Kiba grabbed Samehada, he was thrown back by a violent jolt that left his hand numb. I guess that one is booby-trapped so no one but Naruto can pick it up. How about yours, Sakura? I've got the other one. It's freaking heavy. It must weigh a ton. She literally had to drag the sword back to their side of the fire since even with super strength she just couldn't lift it. Once there she had sat down cross-legged with the sword in her lap, hilt toward her belly. She looked over the strange sword and rubbed her hand up and down its length, feeling the serrated edge before it nicked her finger, dripping blood on its side. She stuck the bleeding digit in her mouth and watched as the drop of blood disappeared, like it had been absorbed into the blade. This fascinated her. Perhaps Naruto had 2 enchanted blades. It wasn't unheard of but highly unlikely. And apparently, according to that Otonin, he was a master of dual Zambatus. She hadn't heard anything of the sort, and she was the Hokage's apprentice. She suddenly noticed the writing by the hilt. She read it out loud. The way of the Zanbatsu is the way of destruction. The purpose of the Zanbatsu is to maintain the peace. The will of my master sharpens the blade and brings happiness to those that deserve it, and death to those who do not. What was that? That's what's wrote on the blade by the hilt. I suppose it's Naruto's swordsman creed. Suddenly a wave of dizziness came over her. Hey, does anyone else feel lightheaded? I feel funny, haha, not funny queer. She didn't hear Hinata squeak when she flopped over unconscious. The next thing she knew, she woke up in a field, covered in orange flowers. She stood among them and turned to find a familiar man staring at her. She fell into a defensive stance immediately. Zabuza! What are you doing here? Am I dreaming? The Zabuza lookalike just chuckled. This made Sakura very confused. Stand down, young one, I won't hurt you. I've brought you here to discuss something. I am the sword of my master Naruto. I am Kubikiri Hocho. Kubikiri Hocho? That was the name of Zabuza's sword. You don't look anything like the sword that we faced when we were children. That is true. I don't look the same because I am my master's sword now. This is my true form. The form of the sword I mean, I just took this form because my last handler was Zabuza. But that is a discussion for another day. I want to ask about your intentions for my master. My intentions? What do you mean? I tasted your blood, girl, and it was filled with sorrow and desire. I want to know what you desire. Is it my master? Or do you still want that traitorous Uchiha? I already know what your blood says, but I want to hear what your heart says. Sakura lowered her head and thought hard while Kubikiri stared at her with a bemused expression. She slowly raised her head and looked him dead in the eyes, her resolve unshakable. I love Naruto and have for a while now. I know that what I have done in the past is inexcusable, but I want him to forgive the past and build a future with me. I want to hold him, to kiss him, to love him the way he used to love me. I want it to be his and him mine. I want my Naruto back. Kubikiri chuckled when he heard this. It was just as he and his brother thought. His master was indeed denying himself of his happiness. Very good. Excellent. I shall inform my brother of this. We will not interfere with your quest for love, but know that you have a rocky road ahead of you. His heart is damaged from all his past experiences. You must show him your love. Do not be afraid to lose the battle as long as you win the war. Persevere and I guarantee you shall find yourself in his arms. Despite what he may show on the outside, he still loves you deep in his heart, though that love is locked away. All you need is the key and his heart will be yours. What is the key? Kubikiri clicked his tongue and wagged his finger at her like he was scolding a small child. Now where's the fun in telling you everything? Steel your resolve and try your best. It was nice meeting you, young lady. I hope we shall meet again. You had better put me back where I belong now before Master gets angry. He's been staring at all of you since you took me, you know. Sakura fluttered her eyes open and stared across the fire. Sure enough, in the darkness she could make out 2 brilliant blue orbs with the flames, staring at the group. She stood and trudged back over to him, the sword surprisingly lighter than before. She laid it on the ground before him and smiled at him, making him quirk an eyebrow. Deciding to be playful and regain his trust first, she stuck her tongue out at him and smirked. Interesting sword you have. Perhaps I'll talk to the other someday. She walked away swinging her hips, making Naruto frown, wondering what she meant. He picked up Kubikiri and glared at it. What did you tell her? Putting on the most innocent look it could while in the visage of a homicidal maniac, making Samehada guffaw, Kubikiri proclaimed. I said nothing that would upset you, master. You worry too much. Resigning himself to the fact that even his swords were against him, he laid back again and closed his eyes, hearing the faint laughter and shouts of victory from his master blades. It was nothing, huh? We shall see. Okami, Naruto thought, can this day get any worse? Naruto truly loved his friends, really he did, but they were trying his patience. He was currently in Tsunade's office, squeezed into one of the chairs that were not meant to hold his oversized frame. He had withstood a barrage of questions about his new look and was, quite frankly, sick of it. Most of the questions seemed to repeat themselves and he had separated them into different categories in his mind. Question: How/when did you get so tall? Answer: I got this tall during training. It's a combination of my muscles and bones being broken multiple times, and the QB rehealing them, to my need to be taller to take advantage of the swords. That was also QB's influence, I suppose. If I had stayed shorter, I'd be dragging the swords around and couldn't use them properly. I'm sure Samahata and Kubikiri had nothing to do with my current height and build. Question: what's with the beard/long hair? Answer: I was in the wilderness for 2 freaking years. I didn't have access to scissors or a razor, and quite frankly they were the last things on my mind. Besides, most girls say I look cool like this. Question: are those swords enchanted? Answer: they're not enchanted, they're sentient. They have their own minds and don't always do as I tell them, instead following their own idea or rules. They're my partners as much as I am their master. Without me they are hunks of metal. Without them, I don't feel complete. Question: I like the look, but what's with it? Not into orange anymore? Answer: the freaking cloak is orange, isn't it? Question: will you go out with me? Answer: no, I will most certainly not go out with you. This Q&A shit was getting on his last freaking nerve. Why couldn't Tsunade have just talked to him alone? At least with just her he could relax and not worry about Samahata or Kubikiri zapping someone because they didn't want to be picked up. He stared down at his legs and was painfully aware of just how tall he had become. He looked gangly and clumsy sitting in that small chair, his frame too big so he had to sit on the edge. Upset with his ass falling asleep, he opted instead to flop down on the floor. Big mistake, since he left an imprint in the floor, making Tsunade irate that was another thing she'd have to have fixed. Naruto sighed. The Hokage office would be brand new by the time he took up the station. Tsunade had finally had enough. In between Naruto's obvious discomfort and growing irritation with his friends, Lee's constant demands for a spar, Sakura's longing looks at Naruto, and Tenten constantly trying to bypass the sword's defenses, she had slowly begun to get that twitch over her eye. Slamming her hands down on her desk, she narrowly avoided breaking it before screaming at the top of her lungs. Quiet. Silence followed. Not even an overly exuberant Lee was going to deny Tsunade her quiet time. Now I'm sure all of you are happy to see Naruto back, but I have things to discuss with him, and then I have to speak to Yamamoto-san. All of you report to the rec room in the Hokage Tower at 7 o'clock tonight, and I'll guarantee that Naruto will be there for you to bug. Now be gone, all of you. Naruto, Sakura, you stay. I wish to discuss some things with you. Great. I wanted to avoid Sakura as much as possible, and now I'm stuck with her for Kami knows how long. Sometimes I really hate you, Tsunade. Now then, you too. I know that you haven't seen each other in a long time, but you'll have to put aside any get-togethers until tonight. Once the third member gets here, we'll be taking a walk to the council room and having a chit-chat with them concerning your news stations. Ah, here's our third chickadee now. Anko walked into the room in her usual attire. She raised an eyebrow at Sakura and gave an appraising glance at Naruto. She didn't recognize him, and even if she had, it wouldn't have made her thoughts any less filthy. She tilted her head and gazed up to meet his eyes. She narrowed her eyes and thought back a few years. There was only one person she knew that had eyes that blew and whisker marks on his cheeks. Uzumaki fucking Naruto. How you been? It's Namikaze now, Anko. And I've been good. You, alright I guess. Nah, I'm kidding you, I've been fucking awesome. Got rid of the curse seal and made peace with the snakes. My life is finally on track. I even snagged myself a sexy dolphin of a man. Naruto cocked his head at this. Dolphin of a man? What the hell was this crazy bitch on? Anko, who in the hell are you talking about? Why Naruto, you can't guess. Still as dense as ever I see. He's really good in bed, really sweet to me, treats me right, loves dango and ramen, good with kids. Holy shit, you don't mean Irika-sensei? Oh sweet Kami, I'm gonna be sick. Hey you little shit. Don't talk about Irika and me like that. Tsunade, though amused by this, had to get down to business at some point. Alright you two, knock it off. You can bond later. Or in Anko's case, bondage later. Naruto paled at that thought, while Anko just thought about ways to tie a certain blonde up. He'd be a challenge, that's for sure. I called you three here because we have need of all your services. Currently Naruto is the only active Sannin. This is a sore point since the Sannin are viewed as the strongest ninja in the village, besides the Hokage of course. Sakura, Anko, as the holders of the other two respective animal contracts, I wish for you two to take up the stations as the Snake Sannin and Slug Sannin. Do you accept? Hell yes, I accept. To be a Sannin was my dream, Lady Tsunade. I'll take my role as the Snake Sannin with pride. Excellent. Sakura? Yes, sure. I accept. I'll make you proud, I promise. Very good. Naruto, you've already accepted your station, but I want you to drop the Sannin business. You can't be a hermit forever, you know. I don't want you following in Jiraiya's footsteps and being alone your whole life. Go out, have fun, get laid for Kami's sake. A sly smile crossed her face and she bridged her fingers under her jaw. You know, I always fancied blondes myself. If I were a few years younger, you'd be in trouble right now. Naruto's face nearly turned green. He'd seen pictures of Tsunade when she was younger, and her henge now didn't do her justice. She was a bombshell. It was no wonder Jiraiya chased her around. But to think that she was looking at him like that now, no, it had to be a joke, right? I don't know, Tsunade-sama, you seem young enough to me. I'll help you hold him down if you prefer. While the two older women were joking at Naruto's expense, Sakura was silently fuming. Tsunade knew about her feelings toward Naruto, and yet she was openly flirting with him, like she wasn't standing there. Enko she could understand, the woman was a shameless flirt, but she would never cheat on Irika, no matter how tempting the blonde Adonis in front of her was. So tempting, so those trains of thought were going to get her in trouble. Sakura put on a smile that was forced and grinned and bore it. She wouldn't let harmless teasing get to her. So tell me, Naruto, how did you get so tall? Naruto growled and gritted his teeth. He was tired of explaining this. This is the last time I'm telling anyone this, so listen up. Over the years, as I used my swords, my muscles and bones snapped and broke more times than I care to remember. At some point the Kyuubi, with the pushing and prodding of my swords, I'm sure, decided that if I was taller and bigger, with more muscle mass, then I could wield them more effectively. Thus the height. I didn't choose to be this tall, and I know it was a freakish growth spurt, but I'm a special case. Pump a little demonic chakra into the vessel's pituitary gland and voila. Instant miracle grow. You make yourself sound like a plant. The rest of me may be rough and tough, but I've heard it said my stem is good eating. Enko grinned at the repartee she was sharing with the boy. His wit had gotten better over the years. Sexual innuendo no less. I'm impressed, brat. You keep this up and I may leave Irika for you. And I never take no for an answer. No problem there, but remember, you hurt Irika, I hurt you. Plain and simple. I like you, kid. I'll be seeing you around. Tsunade-sama, excuse me. I'm going to go celebrate with Irika. She waved to all of them and walked out of the office humming happily. How often was it that a woman achieved her dream after all? Tsunade sighed and waved the other two out. She had things to do before Naruto's welcome back party tonight. She grinned at her slyness. Getting Naruto and Sakura together had been easier than she thought. The rest was up to her apprentice. As Sakura trudged alongside Naruto down the hallway, she had to fall behind several times when his swords didn't allow her to travel beside him. Narrow passageways seemed to work against her, and she couldn't get a look at his face. She frowned as they neared the exit door. If she didn't act quickly, she wouldn't get him alone again until who knows when? Gulping nervously, she made her move. Naruto? Yes? Are you mad at me about something? No, why would you think that? Because you seem so distant to me and you never were before. I'm sorry, but I don't know how to act around you anymore, Sakura. I'm not the same Naruto you knew. I've had to grow up fairly quickly, Shinaro. And you think I haven't? I've had to deal with stuff too, quiet you, but we used to be such good friends, Naruto, and then you just up and left. I didn't even get to say goodbye to you. You didn't even say goodbye to me. You had other things on your mind, Sakura. I didn't want to interfere. You're horrible at hiding your true feelings, Naruto. I wasn't preoccupied with anything or anyone. I searched for you for over a week and never found you. I had places to be just like I have places to be now. Goodbye, Sakura. I suppose I shall see you tonight. Sakura watched him walk off into the distance, a slight tug on her heart. He wasn't cold like Sasuke was, but it hurt worse than Sasuke's rejections. Naruto had spent years just trying to gain a sliver of her attention, and now that he had it all, it was like he refused to accept it. Damn that Uchiha and his scheming ass. If it weren't for him, we'd be with Naruto right now. Sakura sighed and shook her head. We don't know that for sure. Naruto might still have rejected us. He didn't even see us in a romantic sense before Sasuke kissed us. He didn't see us that way because he thought we loved Sasuke. We never made a move on him, so why would he have thought otherwise? That was our mistake. I didn't push you hard enough to go after him, and you never took the initiative. I suppose you're right there. But Okami, I miss him so much. Me too. Sakura sighed wistfully and trudged off to her apartment. Perhaps if she put forth the effort to look nice for him, she could at least get a reaction out of him tonight. Naruto was lost in his own thoughts. Why does she keep trying to talk to me? She was in love with Sasuke, so why does she pester me to talk with her? I'm not a silver medal, damn it. I'm not second best. I won't be anyone's bitch just because they couldn't have someone else. That is an unhealthy way to think, master. You are analyzing this situation entirely too much and at the wrong angle. Oh really? Perhaps you'd care to expound on this since the two of you were so chummy with Sakura. I wasn't chummy with her. I asked her a question and expected the truth. I got my answer, but you still don't have yours. And what would that be exactly? Does she love me? Shut up. And no, she doesn't. She can't. Says who? You. Forgive me, master, but you can't read minds. You cannot fathom what she thinks right now. Perhaps she truly does desire you now. Doesn't matter. I'm through with her, and I want nothing more than to be alone. Why can't everyone see that? Because you don't truly desire to be alone. You want someone to be there for you when you go to sleep and be there beside you when you wake up. That's true. That is what I want. Unfortunately, it can never come to pass. Why? Because I'm convinced that Kami wants me to be miserable. Perhaps my life is a test to see how much the human psyche can withstand before it irrevocably snaps and there is no life, only instinct. I believe that is why I was chosen to house the fox. Not because I was born that day, not because of who my father was, but because Cammy wanted to see how long an insect could squirm before it gave into insanity, and slaughtered all it held dear. That's just stupid. Cammy is not like that, master. You are the only one denying yourself of the woman you love. As far as I am concerned, this conversation is over until you come to your sense. I will have nothing more to do with this until you get over your little pity party. Naruto growled and slit his eyes at Kubikiri. Until I get over my pity party? I was the one cast aside, damn it. Why am I all alone here? Why doesn't anyone see it my way? Because your way is wrong, master. You need to open your eyes. We leave this up to you. But before I go, let me tell you what your mind is like when you are not here. It is dark and dank when you are sad, and you are sad most of the time because you won't let yourself be happy. You are convinced that she doesn't love you because of a stupid reason. Talk to her yourself and stop being such a frigid bastard toward her. I'm not frigid. Hey! I wasn't through talking to you yet. Don't tune me out, damn it. His swords no longer talking to him, Naruto huffed and trudged on to his house. He had been looking forward to a shave and a hot bath, but now he was just pissed off. He stormed into the house and tore his clothes off, wanting nothing more than to wash his troubles away. Now he knew why Jiraiya had stayed away from Konoha for the most part. It wasn't the information gathering, it was the fact that if he came home he would have to face so many problems, and so many people. Naruto eased himself into the water and sighed heavily. Was it so bad to want to be left alone? He thought back to why he left in the first place. That kiss between Sakura and Sasuke. It wasn't the kiss itself that upset him, it was the fact that Sakura had deepened it herself, of her own volition. He had thought they were getting closer, and yet he found himself so far away. He felt the tears coming on, and he fought them back. He hadn't cried in years, and he didn't intend to start now. Finally, he broke down and couldn't hold it anymore. His only thought was, I shouldn't have come back. After his bath and finally stopping his sobs, he had climbed out only to realize that everything he owned was too small for his new size. He'd have to go shopping before the get-together. He sighed. He hated shopping. He needed everything: clothes, new toiletries, and maybe furniture. No, he wouldn't get rid of the furniture. Even if he ended up dirt poor, he wouldn't do that. They were mementos of his mother and father. Shrugging his clothing back on, he began the trek back into town. Cammy, he hated clothes shopping. It seemed fate was out to get him, and Naruto was just about to the point of apologizing to Neji for saying he was wrong. He was now convinced that Cammy indeed had it out for him. How else do you explain him stumbling into Ino and being drugged through every clothing store in Konoha while she measured him up? He never thought that he'd be wanting to run away from such a beautiful woman, but he could only take so much. Ino didn't seem to notice his discomfort, and kept searching and searching until she had him a completely new wardrobe. Several things had to be fitted for him, as his height was entirely unusual, especially for Konoha. Ino had finally sent him on his way, telling him what exactly to wear that night, or she'd make his life a living hell. He was just glad to be rid of the banshee. Now then, on to get new towels and a new bathrobe. Ino, meanwhile, had had the perfect opportunity to see that gorgeous body up close and wished to hell that Sakura hadn't already staked her claim. It wasn't natural to be that tall and muscular, but damned if it didn't look good on Naruto. Everything was proportioned just right. Damn Sakura and her call of dibs. Oh well, at least with the outfit she made Naruto promise to wear, she'd get to see forehead blush and drool, along with several other kunoichi. Tonight was going to be a good night. Tonight is going to be horrible, thought Naruto as he adjusted his clothing one last time. He had shaved the beard off and now looked more like a stretched-out version of his old self. Still had the whisker marks and had lost the baby fat. Not that he minded the beard, but it itched, and he didn't need the distraction. How in the hell had Sarutobijiji kept his without going insane? Naruto shook his head and sat down. Reminiscing about the past wasn't going to do any good. He missed the old Hokage, and he missed Jiraiya sorely. Even if the perverted hermit had been a bad influence earlier in his life, he had taken the time to notice Naruto's potential and try to steer him in the right direction. True, he wasn't the best teacher in the world, but at least he had taught him. Naruto smiled and bowed his head in prayer, offering his thanks for the pervert, and hoping that wherever he was there were many hot springs and nude ladies for him to ogle. He glanced at the clock and sighed for the last time. Time to go, let's get this over with. Sakura was nervous, that was for damn sure. She had dressed in a seafoam green dress to match her eyes and wore heels to match. Ino had said that she had met up with Naruto that day and had picked him out a whole new wardrobe, of which she had made him promise to wear a certain outfit for the night. Sakura inwardly cursed Ino for getting so close to Naruto, but couldn't really blame her. He was pretty hot now. She only hoped that she could corner him tonight and tell him how she felt. She was having a fight with her inner self when the room went quiet. Turning her head, she saw the object of her affections and her eyes went wide, blood dripping down her nose. Damn you, Ino. You didn't tell me you made him promise to dress in that. Naruto had drawn the full attention of the room. It was to be a casual dress affair, but Ino had made him promise to go all out since he was the guest of honor. He stood tall in the doorframe, his body completely blocking out any light from behind him. Clad in black slacks and patent leather boots, with a blood-red button-down shirt and brown leather trench coat, his hair falling over his eyes with the lack of a Hittite and spilling down his back tied together with a red ribbon. He was a god. Sakura had to wipe her nose quickly and return to the task at hand, gather enough courage to talk to him, while getting him somewhere alone. Unfortunately, everyone decided to swamp him at once, and he was dragged into the crowd. He was still easy to spot, and she could see the discomfort on his face even when he hid it behind that stupid grin of his. Living out in the wilderness by himself for 2 years, no contact with humans except for his informants had left him feeling skittish of large crowds, and it showed. Tsunade stood back and watched as the crowd took their turns asking Naruto questions, which he answered with as much grace as he could. She frowned at his obvious discomfort, and wondered if anyone else had picked up on it. She saw Sakura, who was also frowning and staring at Naruto. Tsunade sighed deeply. Apparently her plan to get the two together earlier hadn't worked like she planned. If only Sakura were a little more confident. It wasn't like Naruto was a total stranger, he was just more mature now and had heavy responsibilities. But so did Sakura. Tsunade grinned suddenly. With Sakura's new Sannin status, she wouldn't be in the village much anymore. She'd need to be shown how to move outside of Konoha, and who better to show her than the Toad Sannin. Tsunade, you old schemer. You've still got it. She patted herself on the back. Her apprentice and little brother would not end up like her and Jiraiya. Naruto had finally broken from the crowd and made his way to a balcony overlooking the village. It was a beautiful sight, the lights sparkling in homes as people walked happily along below. Families having fun together, young couples hand in hand, old couples leaning on each other, and their canes. He sighed and turned his chin upward to stare at the stars. Will I ever know such peace with someone? He hadn't noticed the pink-haired woman sidling up beside him. He was too lost in thought. Naruto? Damn. Can I escape her for just 5 minutes? Why is she trying to do this? Sigh. Yes, Sakura? Do you need something? I just want to talk, Naruto. I want things to be like they were, where you and I could talk without it being awkward. I want the Naruto I knew back. I want you back in my life again. I'm sad and lonely without you around. Well, I'm sorry for that, but I have duties I have to fulfill now. Information doesn't gather itself, you know. But why do you avoid me? Is it because you don't love me anymore? Oh, if that could only be the reason. I wish I could stop loving her. His thoughts were not unnoticed by his blades, who grinned at each other in his mindscape. They may have washed their hands clean of the situation, but that didn't mean they didn't care. Perhaps their master wasn't hopeless after all. That's not it, Sakura. I just can't stay long, so why bother? I'll never be here longer than a couple days and then I'm gone again. That doesn't mean you can't visit me. That doesn't mean you have to ignore me. I know what this is all about, Naruto. I'm not stupid. That kiss with Sasuke. He interrupted her with a glare and a sharp hiss. Stop. Right now. I don't want to talk about it. This conversation is over. Good night, Sakura. Nice going, genius. That was real smooth. Mentioning that kiss backfired real good. Shut up. I was trying to make a point. And now it seems I've made it worse. All I want is to be happy with him. Is that asking too much? Why can't I say the right things to make it all right again? She began to sob and covered her face. Their little exchange did not go unnoticed, however. Tsunade and Irika had seen and heard everything. Tsunade turned to Irika and nodded, and he took off after Naruto. The older blonde sighed and walked toward the young girl. Sakura felt a tap on her shoulder and turned to see Tsunade with her arms open. Sakura fell into them and balled against the woman's chest, asking over and over why she couldn't make Naruto happy. Why did the past always have to mess up her chances with him? Tsunade turned her eyes to the stars and closed her eyes. Damn you, Jiraiya. You taught your student everything except how to follow his heart. I don't want our students following in our footsteps because of bullheadedness. If you can hear me, you old pervert, help me out, please. She opened her eyes and saw a star shine brightly before going back to its normal twinkle. Perhaps things would be all right after all. Irika, meanwhile, was having a very hard time locating Naruto. How could a man so tall and big disappear like that? He was about to give up and go home when he heard a boom coming from the training grounds. He sped toward them and was amazed at the sight. There stood Naruto in his new training clothes with his Zambatas held out. Irika watched with held breath as the man began to dip and dance with the blades, never touching the two together and never dragging them on the ground. It was poetic and deadly, the way a true sword dance should be. The dance was punctuated by a familiar blue ball forming at the tip of Samahata before it was driven into a tree, blasting it to bits. Naruto just stood stoically, trying to calm down when he heard the sound of clapping and turned to find his old academy teacher. His gaze softened. He had always had a soft spot for Irika. Irika was still smiling at the display his former student had put on. He didn't know if Naruto was aware, but they were being watched by many ANBU at the moment, and he was sure that the display of Kenjutsu skill did not go unnoticed by them. Naruto would more than likely get an invite to visit the ANBU headquarters later on to give them a demonstration. Perhaps with Naruto's tutelage, a swordsman group like that of Mists could be born in Konoha. Irika shook these thoughts from his head for the moment, and strode toward his surrogate brother, smiling the whole way. He was astonished at how he had to look up to Naruto now, instead of the other way around. He was glad that Naruto seemed happy to see him. "Hello, sensei. How have you been?" "You look well." "I'm alright, Naruto. How about you?" "I'm fine. Couldn't be better." "Oh really? Then all this destruction has nothing to do with that little display I saw back at the party?" "What do you mean, Iruka-sensei?" "You know exactly what I mean, Naruto. It isn't like you not to give someone a chance to explain themselves. You aren't being fair to Sakura." Naruto frowned at this and slid his eyes, the blue hardly seen. "Did she put you up to this?" "Seriously, Iruka, I don't need this shit right now." Iruka puffed himself up and glared at the young man in front of him. It didn't matter to him if the man in front of him was bigger and stronger than him. He was still Naruto, and if need be, Iruka would take him to task for stupidity. "She didn't put me up to this, Naruto. I came of my own accord because I want to see you happy with someone you deserve. The two of you deserve happiness." "But does she deserve me, Iruka-sensei? After all I did, she chose Sasuke over me. She kissed him after all, not the other way around." "I'm not blind, you know. I know that, you're just stupid. That kiss didn't mean anything, Naruto. It was a test to see if she had any feelings for Sasuke so she could move on. Stop beating yourself and her up over something so small and insignificant, and let yourself be happy for once. Stop pushing away a good thing and quit being a dumbass." Naruto was taken aback by this. Iruka had been forceful before, but he had never been so adamant about something. Naruto hung his head and closed his eyes before whispering in a soft voice, "Do you really mean all that, Iruka-sensei?" "Every bit." Iruka smiled at his victory. He still had it. "Of course I do, Naruto. Every word. You've had enough bad in your life, Naruto, let some good into it. Sakura will be good to you, I guarantee it." I'll think about it, sensei. But I promise nothing." Alright, Naruto. That's all I can ask for. Before I let you get back to destroying the training grounds, can I ask a favor?" "Anything." Thought Iruka, hook, line, and sinker. "I want you to come by the academy tomorrow and be my show and tell for the day. You know, answer questions, be a model citizen for Konoha." "Please? For me?" "Sure, sensei. I'd like nothing better. We can catch up more tomorrow after class, okay? I'll see you then." With that, Naruto jumped away, leaving Iruka alone with his hands on his hips. Turning to the trees, he yelled out, "So what did you guys think? Very good, isn't he?" 5 and Bu leapt out of the trees, two with familiar face masks. A dog and a cat walked forward and removed their masks, showing Kakashi and Yugao. Kakashi gave a lazy grin and slipped his fingers through his hair. "He certainly does have talent. I don't think I could even lift one of those swords for a significant amount of time, and he was throwing them around like they were children's toys. I wish I had realized the potential the boy had when he was younger. Then I could claim to have trained a Sannin to his full potential." Yugao looked thoughtfully around at all the destruction and especially at the tree where the Rasengan had hit. "I think I want him to do a demonstration for the NBU, maybe even have a spar with him myself. Kenjutsu skill like that can't be ignored. If he can teach that style, then we may be able to make our own swordsman group." Iruka smiled and nodded his head. "My thoughts exactly. Well, I'm turning in. I have to prepare my class tomorrow for our guest, and I'll be dealing with a lot of hyperactive brats tomorrow." "Naruto isn't a brat anymore, Iruka." The entire group laughed at this and made their separate ways. Iruka walked off to his apartment, bathed in the moonlight, thinking as he went, "Little by little we're getting the old Naruto back. It'll take a while, but he's still there. Come back to us, brother, we're all waiting for you." Iruka never saw the shape of a certain cloud that seemed to grin at him, looking suspiciously like a certain old hermit. In heaven, Jiraiya smiled. His student would be alright. Naruto sighed as he made his way through town. He wondered to himself how he kept getting into situations like this. Iruka hadn't told him what time to show up, so he decided to get there early and hide from the students. He needed no genjutsu, he just hinged himself into a child and sat in a corner. The students all began to file in and stared at the strange boy sitting in the corner, looking out a window. He seemed so detached, like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders and had seen and done it all. He hadn't wanted any fangirls younger than him, so he had made himself look ugly and unassuming. He sighed heavily. When he dropped the hinge, he knew the girls would swoon. "Kami, how did Sasuke put up with it?" Iruka came in right before class started and saw the boy sitting in the corner and smiled. Leave it to Naruto to try to trick him. Too bad for the blonde that his chakra signature was so unique, he simply couldn't hide from Iruka. Once the student body was settled in, Iruka called the new boy to the front. "You in the corner, come to the front and tell us a little about yourself." Naruto smirked at his old sensei. He knew that he couldn't trick him, but the students were none the wiser. If he was expected to be shown off, he might as well make a lesson out of this visit. He strode to the front of the classroom and stood with his hands on his hip. "I will tell you nothing about myself to start off with. I wish for you to tell me what you know about me from what little you have seen. Remember, to look underneath the underneath. Now, any volunteers?" A girl in the back of the room raised her hand. Besides you being really ugly, you seem to carry a heavy burden, like you've seen many things." "Very good. Anyone else?" A boy in the front decided to speak up. You carry yourself like a jounin and not an academy student. I don't think you are who you say you are. Naruto smiled and nodded his head. Excellent. You have a good eye. Last time, anyone else? A dark-haired girl stood and made the ram's seal before shouting Kai, and the henge on Naruto dropped. All eyes were on the front of the room as the small boy disappeared and a giant appeared. Naruto had shown up wearing his normal clothes, including his heavy coat. His handsome looks brought many a blush to all the would-be kunoichi's faces, and the boys stared in awe at how huge he was. What really caught attention, besides his freakish height, were the two huge zambatas on his back. Putting on his world-famous foxy grin, Naruto stepped back and gave Irika the floor again. Class, I'd like to introduce you to a very good friend of mine. He's more like a little brother to me and was at one time my student like you all are. Allow me to introduce one Namikaze Naruto, Toad Sannin, and master of the duel Zanbato style. The silence that followed was deadly until one loudmouth in the back shouted out, "You're a Sannin?" Naruto threw his head back and roared with laughter. It wasn't often that he got to impress anyone intentionally, and academy students were so impressionable. He looked back at the class and smiled. Yes, I am a Sannin. I got my title when my sensei was killed while fighting a group called Akatsuki. It was a very bittersweet day in my life. I lost my sensei but gained a station that is vital on my way to becoming Hokage. Questions were thrown from everywhere before Naruto held up his hand, signaling for silence, and pointed at a random boy in the audience. The boy stood and addressed him. Naruto-sama, is it true that you are a demon container? A girl beside him looked mortified and bonked him on the head, making the boy cringe. Baka, don't ask Naruto-sama those questions. Forgive him, sir, he doesn't know any better. Don't worry about it, young lady, I don't mind. In fact, I'm glad he asked. Tell me, students, what would you do if I said I was a demon container? Would you hate me as I was hated in my childhood? Or would you think I perform a service to Konoha by holding a beast at bay that wants nothing more than to wipe our village off the face of the earth? The girl asked him what beast he held, and he smiled. I hold the Kyuubi young ones. And it is a fearsome beast. Up until a few years ago, it would talk to me and try to make me do things that I knew were wrong. As a Jinchuriki, we are expected to have the will to hold the demons at bay. It's a hard life for us, and we are ostracized and hated, beaten and abused, cut, and our lives are always in danger. Many would think it best if we were gone from the face of the earth, and indeed, sometimes we wish we were. Dying seems so much easier than living this hell we call a life, but dying is the coward's way out. I've found people that are worth living for, and I'll protect them until my inevitable death. Who are those worth living for, Naruto-sama? Why, Irika-sensei was my first one, besides the third Hokage. They were the first people to treat me like a human and not a demon. I have friends now that are precious to me, and for them I would lay down my life. And all of you are precious to me, just as you were precious to Sarutobi-Jiji and my father. As a future Hokage, I can do no less than protect and love you all. Many of the girls sighed when they heard this, and the boys looked excited. Irika, sensing that he may be able to get a lesson in this after all, made his move. He might not teach anything practical today, but he'd have a lesson about accepting others for who they are, not what they are. Show them your demonic form, Naruto. Let them see what terrible power you hold. All right. Putting his hands together, Naruto began to channel the fox's chakra. The students watched in awe as his whiskers began to darken and become more pronounced. His fangs began to lengthen and stuck out over his lips, and his fingers and nails became more claw-like. All the students gasped when he opened his eyes, and the familiar blood-red pupils with black slits were easily seen. They were entranced when his first chakra tail became visible, and then two more, swishing behind him, before he struck the chalkboard with one and broke it in two, dropping many jaws. One thought ran through their minds: how could chakra take a form and destroy something? Everyone relaxed again when Naruto slowly began to return to normal and his red eyes returned to the calming blue. He smiled sadly at the class and spoke in a low voice. This is the curse of the Jinchuriki. Have you ever heard of the saying, with great power comes great responsibility? It's true, but I'd also add in that such power is a curse. Due to this power, we Jinchuriki are outcasts, unwanted by a society that created us in the first place. My father never wanted to put the fox in me, but he had no choice and would ask no one else to sacrifice their child. My father sacrificed my life for the good of the village, and his thanks were an eternity of damnation and the knowledge that his child would grow up hated, alone, and unloved, even though his last wish was that I would be a hero. There are times I am grateful for my tenant, but most of the time, I would give up the power he gives me for just one chance, just 5 minutes of knowing a parent's love, of knowing a mother's caress or a father's kind word. He looked out over the classroom and saw that many had tears in their eyes, but they were all enraptured by his words. It was then that Naruto realized why Irika had called him to come. This was a history lesson, but also a lesson in life. He was to be an example of the model shinobi, one who always kept going and never let life or difficulties keep him down. He gave them another smile as he kept going. But my life wasn't always hard. The Hokage looked after me. Irika-sensei would try to teach me as much as he could, even though most of the time I didn't listen. I was the class idiot, dead last, and couldn't do anything right. I was a horrible shinobi and was through most of my career. I ended up on the team of the village prodigy, the golden boy of Konoha Uchiha Sasuke. My other teammate was Haruno Sakura, and truth be told, we were a horrible team. We fought constantly, all of us. I hated Sasuke and had a crush on Sakura, and my capacity as an idiot didn't help any. But eventually we all calmed down and started to form a cohesive unit, and eventually I saw Team 7 as the family I never had. Sasuke was like a brother to me. We went through so much together. Then, he left to go to Orochimaru for more power, and we almost lost the most promising batch of rookies in the village to pursue one prodigy, because of who he was and what he carried. The Sharingan was and is a formidable bloodline, but it was not the be-all and all of Jujutsus. Remember kids, that titles, nobility, bloodlines, jutsus, they mean nothing if the ninja himself or herself is not an honorable person. I worked hard for everything I have, just as my father did. The Sharingan is a thief's taijutsu, stealing jutsus from friend and foe alike. True, you can now do the jutsu automatically, but you never know the joy of mastering a jutsu the hard way. I used to think it was a very cool thing, until it was used to steal a friend of mine's taijutsu style, something he worked hard for and bled and sweated to become a master of. After that day, the Sharingan became nothing more than a parlor trick to me, and I lost a great deal of respect for my sensei and my friend. I still loved them like family, but it would be a long time before I trusted them fully again. Over the years, after Sasuke betrayed us, I left on my own training quest with my master, the former Toad Sannin Jiraiya, and I grew powerful, but at the cost of losing control to the fox due to my increasing obsession with returning Sasuke so that Sakura would be happy. My mind was quickly becoming too narrow, and all I could focus on was Sasuke. Even when my good friend, the Hokage, was kidnapped and his demon drawn out of him, on our way to save him I was still scheming about how to get Sasuke back. Eventually, everything I did boiled down to the underlying need to find him, to rescue him from his demons while my own was slowly eating away at my soul. I was losing my humanity, all in the name of helping a friend and a girl I thought I loved. I gave everything I had, and all I got in return was heartbreak. Naruto scowled as he thought back to his previous years. He hadn't meant to be so angsty, but his life was one big shit heap the more he thought about it. There were very few bright spots in his life, and the more he thought about everything he did for this village, everything he did for her, was all for nothing, because in the end his happiness meant nothing to them and theirs meant everything to him. No, thinking that isn't going to help anything. I promised Irika to start over with a clean slate, but it's so hard to let them in again, especially her. But in the end we got Sasuke and brought him back. We weren't even supposed to find him there, but we were fighting Akatsuki at the time, and he showed up with his group to fight his brother. I lost my sensei in that fight to a man named Pain, who thought he was a god, but I also gained 2 allies who have been with me ever since. I was named the new Toad Sannin and took on the title of Sannin in honor of my sensei. For 2 years I became a hermit and stayed away from society, training with my 2 new partners. When I came back to Konoha, I found out that they had executed Sasuke. I was saddened, but in the end it was for the better. If we were lenient with one criminal, why shouldn't others get preferential treatment? And here is where I find myself now, in front of a promising batch of students who could very well surpass my graduating class. Well, that's my whole life. Anything else you'd like to know about me? What are those swords on your back? Naruto grinned and was about to answer when the lunch bell rang, and for once the students groaned instead of being happy. It wasn't every day you met a Sannin and they wanted to know more. Irika smiled and told them to go. Now kids, go eat lunch. When you come back, Naruto will still be here and he'll answer all of your questions. Happy that Naruto wasn't leaving any time soon, the children bolted out to eat and return as quickly as possible. Naruto watched them go and thought how long ago his academy days seemed. He was still young, yet he felt so old, he had seen so much. He turned to Irika, who clapped his hand on his shoulder and gave him a brotherly smile. Don't think about the past, Naruto. You've come so far, so fast. Don't let bad past experiences ruin your future. And remember what I told you last night. I remember, Irika-sensei. And I also remember I told you I'd think about it. I don't want to get my hopes up only to have them crushed again. I'm going to go eat now. You want to come? No, I think I'll stay here and wait on you. Don't take too long, okay? Alright. And next time you have someone eavesdrop on the class, you should tell them to conceal themselves better. I'm abysmal at genjutsu, but I could feel them. See you later. Not caring who the concealed person was, he took off to Ichiraku's to get some ramen. If he had only stayed to see, he would have seen Sakura drop her genjutsu and look tearfully at where he had been. Is that how he feels, Irika-sensei? He feels that we all abandoned him, especially me? Why can't he see how I feel about him? Why does he refuse to notice me? Perhaps, it's not that he doesn't notice you, but that he won't let himself notice you. After all, Sakura, you ignored him for years. Maybe he wants you to experience that pain, not of rejection, but of loneliness and despair. You've said that kiss was a mistake, Sakura, but did you try to find Naruto to explain that to him? Did you really and honestly try? Of course I know I didn't. I thought that he was strong, and that he'd be around forever. I thought that I'd be able to talk to him whenever I wanted to. He's always been here for me, so why should then have been any different? This situation is as much my fault as it was Sasuke's. Oh Kami, Iruka-sensei, I just want Naruto back. What should I do? My advice? Just be nice to him and don't pressure him. Don't profess your love for him, show it to him. Let him come to his own conclusions. He's still there, Sakura, we just have to coax him back. She sniffled and wiped her eyes, giving Iruka a small, sad smile. You know, I've known Naruto for years. I was on his team, I beat him up daily, called him names, and treated Sasuke like a prince in front of him, and he still was lovable, stupid Naruto. I'll get my Naruto back no matter how long it takes. Don't tell him that it was me spying, okay? It'll make him mad. Sakura, he was on a team with you for years. He recognizes your chakra signature. He knew it was you, and that's why he intentionally didn't mention anything about that day that hurt him badly. He danced around it. Don't worry though, if he knew it was you and didn't get angry, it'll be alright. I'll see you later, okay? Okay. Naruto enjoyed his lunch while talking to Ayam. Talking to the Ichirakus always made him feel better, but today Ayam nearly ruined it by asking how he and Sakura were as a couple. He had merely glared at her, and she quickly changed the subject to something more pleasant. How many people were going to stick their nose in his business concerning his love life? Hopefully the kids wouldn't be like that when he returned. Naruto entered the classroom again to find all the kids waiting patiently. He strode to the middle of the classroom again, and folded his arms expectantly. When no one asked a question, he rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Oh yeah, you guys asked me something before the bell rang. What did you want to know again? They wanted to know what the swords are, Naruto. Thank you, sensei. Alright, everyone outside and I'll give you a demonstration. Iruka had never seen a classroom clear so fast. He walked beside Naruto down the halls and knocked on doors he passed, telling the teachers to bring their students outside for a demonstration by the Toad Sannin. They walked outside to find quite a throng of wide-eyed children and curious-on-looking adults. Naruto swung the bandaged swords off his back and stabbed them both into the ground. The kids all marveled at the size of the blades and then stared in awe once Naruto was done unwrapping them. Samahata was the strangest-looking sword they had ever seen and looked more like a bludgeon with little spikes than a sword. Kubikiri looked like a saw in sword form. Several students stepped forward to touch the swords, only for Naruto to snatch the blades from the ground and hold them behind his back. No, don't touch them. These swords don't like it when anyone but me touch them. I am their master, and as such only I can wield them. But can we at least touch them? I don't know. I'll ask them. Several eyebrows raised in unison, and the little loudmouth from the back of the class spoke up. Ask them? Swords aren't living beings, Naruto-sama. You can ask them things. Naruto smiled and nodded his head. That is true, little one. Most swords aren't sentient, but mine are special. They speak to me and give me advice. They are my partners in battle and in life, even if I don't agree with everything they tell me, especially about my love life. Several people laughed at this, and Naruto could envision Kubikiri and Samahata trying to look innocent while telling him to let the children touch them. He gave them a mental nod and told the children they could touch them but be careful. One child strode forward and felt a pull on his chakra and immediately jumped back. He looked at Naruto for an answer. That is one of Samahata's abilities, the power to draw chakra from an opponent. It has another that I will show you soon. Kubikiri is my main sword and as you can see can leave nasty wounds on the enemy. Look at its hilt and read what it says. The children read his creed and looked at him, as if expecting an answer. That is my swordsman's creed, but it could also be applied to shinobi. It is our way to destroy, but we do so to maintain peace in the land. We make sure our families are happy and safe while bringing death to our enemies. This is the life of the ninja. Very soon some of you will graduate. Your lives will be immediately put on the line, and you will be expected to carry the name of Konoha with pride. You are the future of this village, and as such I expect each and every one of you to follow the examples of the Hokages. Love the village, love the people, and fight for what you know is right. My job is to gather information to keep the village safe. In the future, when your shinobi path is more clear, who knows what your role will be. Through it all, however, keep my creed in mind and never betray your village. If you do, know that I will be after you and I will kill you. I will not let another Sasuke come to pass, but I don't think I'll have to worry about you guys being traitors, especially after my demonstration. Having said his piece, he snatched his swords out of the ground and ran toward the training posts, thrusting Samahata forward. The students watched as he ripped it backwards and took out a hunk of wood. He danced around the posts, cutting and slicing, his swords never touching the ground, and for all intents and purposes he looked like a dancer. The kunoichi who thought he was handsome had bigger sparkles in their eyes, and all the boys wanted to learn kenjutsu immediately, if only to be able to move like that. Suddenly he thrust Kubikiri sideways and lopped a post off at the bottom, sending it into the air before forming a Rasengan on the tip of Samahata and thrusting it into the chunk of wood, obliterating it. He swung the swords to his back and turned to find everyone's jaws on the ground. He rubbed the back of his head and offered them a foxy grin. Now then, no one wants to be a traitor, do they? All heads shook in a massive negative. Who in the hell would be stupid enough to betray Konoha if he was the one sent after them? Sadly, for Naruto at least, he now had a fan club that all insisted he was the coolest ninja ever. The Konohamaru Corps were insistent that this fan club were all a bunch of posers since they knew Naruto was cool way back when. Deciding that he was done for the day, he bade the children goodbye, amid a chorus of boos and ahs. With a quick shunshin he was back at his house, where he found awaiting Tsunade, who had helped herself to his liquor cabinet. He scowled at this and tapped the Hokage on her shoulder. To what do I owe the honor of having the Hokage in my humble house? And who told you could invade my liquor cabinet? I'd have shared if you asked, you know. Tsunade looked up at him, her cheeks blushing slightly. She was just a little tipsy but nothing to impede her judgment. I came to talk to you about you and the other Sannin. Enko knows what her duties entail as the snake Sannin, but Sakura is new to the game and needs guidance. You know what to do because you traveled with Jiraiya for years and already had your contacts established. I want you to take Sakura with you on your journey, time undisclosed, and show her how to do things right. I know what you're trying to do, Tsunade, and I'm begging you, please don't do this to me. I don't want to face her right now. Namikaze Naruto. Stop acting like a child and man up. You're a Sannin for Kami's sake, and you need to act like it. It's true that I want the two of you happy together, and I don't know why you won't let that happen, but this has nothing to do with your love life. This is business, and don't you dare refuse me, because I will make this an order and not a request. You're going to do this with or without your consent. There is no one better to teach Sakura than you. Naruto took pride in this statement even if he had his reservations. He knew that on top of the proposal was Tsunade's wish that he and Sakura get together, and this was a thinly veiled attempt to hasten this along. He sighed and hung his head, accepting his fate. Hi Hokage-sama. I accept this mission, and when Sakura returns to you she will be able to do her Sannin duties with ease. Tsunade nodded her head and poured herself another glass and fixed Naruto one as well. Raising her dish in a toast she clinked it with his and downed the strong drink. On the inside she was smirking and dancing in victory. I've started the ball rolling, you old perverted goat. Help guide your student to make the right choice, and when I get to heaven, I won't kill you nearly as hard for leaving me all alone on this dirt ball. In heaven Jiraiya, while talking to one Uzumaki Kushina, suddenly felt a chill go up his spine and he shivered, despite heaven never having a cold day. Kushina raised her eyebrow and looked at the old pervert strangely. What's the matter, Erosenin? Are your pervert senses tingling again? Jiraiya turned sorrowful eyes back to her and gave a fearful nod. I think I might not be safe from Tsunade's vengeful fists, even in death. I hope she's not still mad at me for dying. Naruto groaned as he sat up from his couch and looked around the room. He spotted a head of blonde hair and knew immediately that it was Tsunade. He sighed, wondering how he was going to explain her absence to Shizen, but left the thought for later. Deciding breakfast was in order, he moved to the kitchen and began making eggs and frying bacon. He might be a bachelor, but living in the woods by yourself taught you to be a self-reliant cook at least. Tsunade smelled the delicious aroma of home-cooked food and her head immediately came off the couch. She felt a slight breeze and looked down to see her girls had come out of her shirt once again. She put them back into place with a sigh and retied the sash at her waist. Honestly, it was like the tailors of the world were against her, and plotted it so that her shirt would come undone at a moment's notice. That wonderful smell wouldn't go away though, and when she sat up too abruptly, the nausea and headache sat in. Even after all her years of hard drinking she couldn't take a hangover. She was kicked out of her muddled thoughts by a tap on the shoulder, and a large hand offering her 2 pills and a glass of water. Take that and drink. You'll feel better immediately. Tsunade obliged, if only to rid herself of the pounding headache. She downed the pills and sloshed the water, and to her great relief and surprise, all her ailments went away. Turning to Naruto for an answer, he merely shrugged and offered a grin. You don't think Jiraiya would let himself be caught with a hangover, do you? He had far too many enemies and money-hungry whores wanting his head and his wallet. He developed that so that no matter how much he drank, by the next morning he'd be good to go again. Tsunade merely snorted and leaned back onto his comfortable couch, enjoying the cool feel of the leather when a plump sound came from beside her, and she looked to see Naruto holding 2 plates, full of bacon and eggs. She accepted it graciously and was tapped on the shoulder. She turned to see yet another Naruto with 2 glasses of orange juice which he handed to the 2 before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Tsunade sat her glass on a side table and took a bite of the eggs. She chewed slowly, appraising its taste, before hastily trying to shove as much in her mouth as she could. Naruto laughed heartily at her enthusiasm, asking her if it was good. She smiled as she swallowed another bite of bacon. This is excellent fare, Naruto. When did you learn to cook like this? Well, you learn a lot living alone in the woods for 2 years. I didn't want to eat crap all the time, so I learned to cook decently. Want more? Yes, please. While he went to retrieve another plate for her, she sipped her juice and found it very tasty. This wasn't that store-bought crap that most ninja got. Hey Naruto! What's the deal with this orange juice? It's got quite a taste to it. He grinned as he handed her another plate, which she readily accepted. He liked the fact that she loved his cooking. It wasn't often it was appreciated. I juice the oranges myself and then add a little something I picked up on the western continent. Trade secret. Maybe I'll tell you one day. I'd appreciate that. Maybe you can show Shizen? I'll think about it. Now then, since you're through with breakfast, how about a bath before you shove back off to your wonderful job? The bath sounds good, but do I have to leave? I can't just hide out here for the rest of my days? Bachan, When you retire, I was actually going to ask if you wanted to live here on the grounds. It can get lonely by myself at times, even if I summon Gamakichi to play a little board game or something. Most times we have to stay outside because the bastard's too big to fit through the door. Well, you must be the only person who uses their summons for such frivolous things. Now then, about that bath? Tsunade had to admit that the Namikaze baths were of the utmost quality. She sighed and leaned back, allowing herself to enjoy this moment of peace and quiet. That moment was shattered when she heard the door to the hot spring open and a large, well-built, extremely tall blonde man came in clad in only a towel. Fighting to keep her blush down and not admire the body in front of her, she relied on her familiar way of dealing with such things. In all the things Jiraiya taught you, I thought pervertedness was one of the things that escaped you, Naruto. Mind telling me why you're intruding on my private bath? I was joking the other day, you know. Naruto for his part merely slipped into the water and sat down, either ignoring her or not hearing her. Either way, it pissed her off more. Just as she was about to bounce a clay pot off his head, he spoke. I'm not peeking, Bachan. I'm tired too, and a hot bath sounded good. These were family baths, mind you, and I consider you family, so don't worry about me trying to ogle your goodies. As tempting as that might be, I don't want my head bashed in, and besides we're both adults here and I wanted to continue our conversation. Much easier to do if we're both relaxed, right? I suppose. So what do you want to talk about, Sakura? To say that conversation was enlightening and subtle would be to say that World War II was two boys fighting over a Tonka truck in a sandbox. They had shouted at each other over the matter until they were blue in the face, and when both had crossed the water to get in each other's face, or chest, since Naruto was so much taller than Tsunade, they realized finally that the towels had been lost long ago, and there was much dangling and swinging of naughty parts for both parties. Both immediately turned blood red, sat down abruptly in the water and moved to their respective sides of the spring, searching frantically for their towels. The missing articles found and put back in place, Naruto threw Tsunade an oversized robe meant for him and fetched one for himself. They both rose and exited the springs at the same time. The two blondes walked in silence to the main house, until Tsunade grabbed him by the collar of his robe and jerked him down to eye level with her. You mention one word about this to anyone, I mean anyone, and I will personally rip off parts of you that Kyuubi can't heal back, understood? Yes'm. Good. Tsunade smirked as she let him go, and they continued their walk in silence. Her boldness grew more and more, and her need to tease the young man beside her couldn't be abetted anymore. By the way, I see your height wasn't the only thing that Kyuubi apparently grew in recent years. I'm sure a certain pink-haired medic Nin would love to see that. Naruto scowled and thought hard. Not one to be one-upped in a fight over anything, he smirked and looked down at his diminutive Hokage and prepared to run for the hills. I didn't realize you weren't a natural blonde, Bachan. Seems you can't cast the genjutsu over every hair, huh? People would wonder for years where all the screams and laughter from the Namikaze estate came from for years. Many said it was ghosts, many said it was a mass hallucination, but only two people knew that the Hokage tried to murder yet another perverted Toad Sannin in cold blood for seeing something they shouldn't have seen. Sakura walked along the road and thought about what her master had told her. She was ecstatic that she would be accompanying Naruto to find out what her new duties would be, but for the life of her she couldn't imagine what they might be. From what Naruto used to tell her, Tsunade really never had any duties. She frowned when she thought of her previous statement. What Naruto used to tell me. He didn't even want to talk to her anymore. She hadn't even realized where she was heading until she came to a familiar bridge with a familiar man sitting in a squat post-ion on the rail, reading a familiar book. Squashing down her screams of pervert, Sakura smiled and moved to talk to her old sensei. Hello, sensei. Long time no see. Indeed, Sakura. It has been a long time. Surprising the pink-haired girl, he snapped the book shut and hopped off the rail before leaning against it. You know, Sakura, I've been thinking over the past couple of years and I can't believe sometimes how blind I was to not see yours and Naruto's good qualities. I saw you as a helpless little girl, fixated only on Sasuke. I saw Naruto as a hopeless fool, not worth training really. Sasuke was the only one worth my time. I don't think my failure was any more evident than when I refused to help train Naruto for the Chunin exams. You refused to train him? When, before the exams? No, after the preliminaries. He all but came and begged me to help him, and I told him I didn't have the time to mess with him since I would be training Sasuke. He hid his dejection very well, but I could still see it. I played favorites Sakura and I haven't spoken to him in a long time. You know what he said to me when I saw him at the party? Fuck you. And then he was gone again. I never knew he harbored a grudge. He gave me a copy of Ika Ika when he came back from that first training mission, and I thought everything was okay. Neither of us ever really appreciated him, Kakashi-sensei. I overlooked him for years because he was annoying, and you overlooked him because of a lack of focus. No matter what he did to impress us or try to make us see him, we just turned up our noses and kept walking. Did you know that the first thing I did after the invasion was thank Sasuke for saving me from Gaara? But Sasuke didn't. That's right, he didn't. And he himself told me that, quite bitterly I might add. The funny thing? Naruto saved everyone's lives, fought off Abiju itself, and summoned Gamabunta, and what did we hear out of him about it? Not a peep. No boasting, no self-important speeches about how that would help him achieve Hokage. Nothing. He just kept going like it was an everyday thing. I think back on things like that, and I get humbled every time. Kakashi and Sakura both looked at the ground and neither spoke for several minutes before Kakashi sighed. You know, reminiscing about stupid things we've said to Naruto? You remember when he warned me to stop the match between Sasuke and Gaara because Gaara was going to kill Sasuke? Pride wouldn't let me. I just knew that Sasuke couldn't lose, and yet if that fight had carried on, Gaara would have killed him. Guy let me know as much later, and he said that it was foolish to disregard what Naruto said. I brushed him off and did my usual thing of asking him what he said. You know what he did? He slapped me and told me that I disregarded an important piece of information from a Konoha shinobi that could have led to another getting killed. Jackass wouldn't even acknowledge me in public for months afterward. I thought getting attention from him was unnerving, but being slighted by and ignored by him was 10 times worse. Sakura nodded and then thought of an idea. Since both of us obviously have the day off and neither of us is doing anything, how about we get some dango? I don't know. I'm kinda busy. Kakashi, I outrank you now, you know. I could just order you to accompany me. Kakashi gave his infamous eye smile and pulled his book back out of his pouch. So, pulling rank already, are we? Well, then Miss Slug Sanin, lead the way. Arriving at the shop, they weren't prepared for what they saw. There, in a corner booth, was a large blonde and a very familiar snake charmer involved in a most interesting staring contest. Midarashi Anko and Namikaze Naruto were the two most eccentric and two of the most powerful ninja in the village to date, and both enjoyed a good fight. Both enjoyed arguing and both enjoyed annoying the hell out of other people. It was to this end that Naruto wondered out loud to Anko how she had netted Irika when she was usually such a psychotic bitch, to which Anko replied that she wondered why Naruto didn't have a girlfriend. Perhaps it's because of that limp sword wrist, she had pondered out loud. Several more rounds of bantering back and forth, and the subjects had come to much raunchier and downright mean statements. Neither would back down, and truth be told, they were enjoying themselves immensely. They ignored the crowd that had gathered around them to see what would happen when two of the most volatile ninja in the village had a standoff, but they had relegated themselves to words only. No physical action would be taken. And the words were definitely more entertaining than any blows could have been. After a standoff that included Naruto questioning Anko's femininity in several blasé and uncouth ways, and Anko questioning Naruto's sexuality and anal virginity, the two had come to a stare down. The object wasn't not to blink, but to see who got more pissed as the seconds went by and moved first. They had simply stared at each other for several minutes, occasionally tossing in a one-liner here and there, to the hooting and hollering of the crowd. Bets were being placed about who would win, and when Tsunade smelled a bet she came running. It wasn't all that unusual to see the Hokage trying to strike up a betting pool about something, but neither Sakura nor Kakashi had expected to see her in a dango shop, yelling in Naruto's ear that he had better lose, or else. No one else knew, but she was still pissed at him about this morning. Not about him having seen her butt naked, but that he had the gall to comment about her graying hairs. This was unforgivable, and she wanted nothing more than for the blonde to lose badly. Anko had upped the ante of their little game by summoning some snakes under the table and having them crawl all over Naruto, hoping that would unsettle him and remove him from his seat. Naruto merely scoffed and said that he faced down a demon daily. Snakes were nothing. Inside, however, he was cringing. I fucking hate snakes. One saw fit to flick its tongue in his ear at Anko's behest, and she could visibly see his eye beginning to twitch. She thought she had him on the ropes until a poof went off and two small frogs appeared on the table and went to work on her. Now Anko is by no means modest. Moderate, yes, and willing to use her sexual charms to befuddle and confusticate the enemy, but among her peers and the civilians, she keeps a certain amount of decency. She would never flash the public, especially with children around. That's why when the frogs each grabbed a flap of her jacket and pulled it back to the side, exposing her breasts, that everyone gasped, and she narrowed her eyes at the lecherously grinning blonde across the table. Tell those fucking midgets to put my coat back in its proper place, or so help me God, I'll make sure they never find your body. I thought this wasn't going to get physical, so says the woman who summoned snakes that are currently trying to crawl into my brain through my ear. I'm merely evening the score and getting a show to boot. What would Irika say if he caught you ogling his girlfriend in such a manner? That you probably should have worn a bra. Anko snarled at Naruto and placed her hands firmly on the table so that she wouldn't hurt the toads. Tell them to put my coat back in place. Take your snakes back. You first. Suck my dick. She smirked and leaned back. Better yet, I'll just have them bite it and have it swell up to the size of a blimp. It's the only way you'll ever get big. Oh, how wrong that assessment is, thought Tsunade as she fought down a blush. Naruto tried to suppress a growl but couldn't. Everyone stepped back when the animalistic deep rumble came from his throat, and even Anko raised an eyebrow. Sakura and Kakashi had heard that growl before and knew what was coming, so to prevent any mishaps, Sakura grabbed Naruto and launched him into the air and out the door, surprised at how heavy the blonde was, while Kakashi dragged Anko out the back entrance, much to the chagrin of the crowd and delight of Tsunade, who won her bet on a technicality that Naruto had left his seat first. Naruto was not a happy camper. He didn't know who had thrown him outside, but whoever they were was going to pay. He had lost on a technicality, and Anko wasn't likely to let him forget that. He'd have to demand a rematch to save face. For the moment, though, whoever had thrown him was going to catch a serious ass whooping. He ran through a mental checklist of who was strong enough to toss his ass through the air like that, and how many would have dared to. Let's see, Chuji, no, he wouldn't pass up a chance to see a fight and maybe snag some free dango. Tsunade, no, she would have just let us go until it got too dangerous. Then it hit him like a ton of bricks. I just can't catch a fucking break, can I? There before him, with her hands on her hips, was his childhood crush, Sakura. Sakura, to her credit, although highly pissed at Naruto at the moment, couldn't help but be impressed by his tenacity and willpower. If she had been the one with snakes crawling all over her, she would have snapped and tried to kill Anko. Humiliating the woman by making her flash the dango shop was nothing less than pure genius, worthy of the king of pranksters. Her anger at him nearly wilted when she saw the glare he was sending her, but it came back quickly enough when he stood up and just began to walk off, like he hadn't seen her. Shaking with fury, she launched herself at the giant, and was surprised when he ducked her kick, letting her fly over him, and kept walking past her like she hadn't attacked him. Naruto was not in the mood for more games at the moment. His fun moment had been ruined by well-meaning people. No one understood people like him and Anko. He had growled at her to try to make her jump, he never intended to move, and he knew that Anko damn well knew that. The two of them were too alike not to know what the other was thinking. That's why he had told the toads to open her jacket. He knew she wouldn't budge, but silently, she was applauding his ingenuity, just as he applauded hers with the snakes. It was all a game, and it had been ruined by Kakashi and Sakura, with good intentions to save something that never needed to be saved. He turned down a street to go home when he felt the back of his coat balled up in a fist, and he was suddenly jerked backwards and being drugged by a diminutive pink-haired woman. This did not sit well with him at the moment. Let me go, Sakura. I don't have time to play with you. She turned back and glared at him, and for a moment he felt like a child again. It was almost like old times, but it wasn't old times. He wasn't the midget of the group anymore, and she wasn't the most important thing in his life. He was about to try to stand and get away when her voice cut through the air like a knife. You even tried to run away, and I swear that, no matter how strong you've gotten, I will beat the shit out of you. We need to talk, and we need to talk now. You're not going anywhere, and we're going to do this in private. And just where in this village is it private enough to talk without being heard? The tower in the forest of death. What had taken them days in the past now took less than an hour. The two were simply too skilled to be bothered by the animals, and in fact, most beasts were deathly afraid of Naruto, and the killing intent he exhibited now. It was mostly aimed at Sakura, and that bothered her, but she didn't let it show on the outside. Once they arrived at the tower, she opened the door with the key she got from the Hokage and went inside. She motioned for him to follow her, and he did, albeit with much hesitation. For the moment, he was in her territory and had no idea what she was going to do. Within minutes he found himself in the middle of a familiar battleground and looked across the floor to see her turning on the lights so that the grounds were lit up. He gazed up at the balcony and noticed how empty it looked without all his friends there. He had never had to come back here again. He had gone straight from Genin to a Sannin, a feat almost unheard of in the ninja world. You had to have a lot of talent to do that, and Naruto was full of surprises. His focus went back to Sakura as she strode back toward him, and he was caught off guard when she punched him in the face. Flying through the air, he was slightly amused that she nearly had to jump to hit him. He hit the wall and immediately was back where he had stood before, more than just a little pissed. What the hell was that for? His answer was another punch. He had to take to dodging and avoiding her blows. He may not like her anymore, but he wouldn't hurt another Konoha nin, even if they wanted to kill him, as was evident right now. He was about to rave at her when he noticed she had tears in her eyes, of anger or sadness, he didn't know. He didn't know, however, that her words sounded extremely pissed and hurt. You fucking asshole. You left me all alone for 2 whole years and not word one came from you. Do you have any idea how bad it hurt to know you left without a word? I cried for a week straight. I had to watch them kill our teammate, and then I had to bury him. All I had left in the world were our friends and my apprenticeship with Tsunade-sama. Kakashi went back to the ANBU and didn't come around much anymore. I was all alone, Naruto, and it's all your fault. Okay, he thought I took the blows. I listened to her rant, but blaming me for all her problems once again because she couldn't handle what happened. Fuck that shit. What the hell do you mean it's my fault? I didn't do shit to you. I left to start my work. It's called growing up, Sakura, and I had to grow up quicker than most. Get over it. That's not what I mean. Then what do you mean, you crazy bitch? Both fighters stopped their motions, not 2 feet from each other. It was all laid out on the table now, and it was stupid to hold anything back. I miss you, Naruto. You were the one thing in my life I could count on, the one person I could always know would be there, and then you weren't there anymore. You dropped off the face of the earth, and the only thing that let me know you were still alive was the occasional messenger toad sent to Tsunade. But it was never personal, it was always business. That wasn't like you. It isn't like you. It's like you cut off all ties with Konoha and all ties with me. Please, Naruto, I don't want things to be like this between us. So the first thing you do is try the old tried and true method of pounding my brains to mush? Sorry, sister, that ain't gonna cut it anymore. I have better things to do than let my old teammate try to kill me because she mourns the death of her lover. Her eyes narrowed and her nails cut into her hands so much that she began to bleed. He could hear her teeth grinding and she reached up and slapped him so quickly that he hadn't seen her move. She whispered in the air in a low voice, "How dare you? How dare you say that Sasuke was the only thing to matter to me in life? I was stupid when I was young, yes I admit, but later I found other things more important than Sasuke. I found someone I could love without losing myself." "Oh really? And who might that be?" Sigh. "Kakashi? Lee, you fucking moron. It's always been you." The air was silent as the giant and his small pink-haired teammates stared at each other, no words being said. Now it was all out in the open and she waited for him to make the first move. She wasn't surprised by his reaction and yet it cut her deeply. Bullshit. He disappeared immediately after, and she collapsed to the ground emotionally spent. She sighed and leaned her head on her knees and let the tears flow. She still hadn't gotten through to him. Naruto ran through the forest of death at breakneck speeds that would have made Lee tell him to slow down. His swords drawn, he was looking for anyone and anything to cut open, to make bleed, to feel pain. He wanted to destroy at the moment, and it was at this point his swords decided to give their opinions. "You need to go back, master. She is upset right now and you still need to finish talking to her. You left hastily. Samahata is right, master. You're not being fair. She opened up to you, why not you to her?" Naruto stopped dead in the middle of the forest and turned his eyes skyward. "Why? Why? Because it's all a lie. She doesn't love me, I'm a replacement, a second best, a silver medal. I'll never be first in her heart because Sasuke already has a golden throne there. In her heart I'll always be dead last, and I will not accept any less than being first." "Fine. Be stubborn and foolish. At least be a gentleman though and escort her back home. Don't make yourself out to be more of an ass than you already have been today." "Fine." He turned and headed back to the tower and found Sakura sound asleep on the floor, her face streaked with tears, and for a moment, his heart reached out and he wanted to take her in his arms, tell her it was okay, and be by her side again. But quickly bad feelings came forward and he reminded himself of his declaration to Irika that if she wanted to be in his good graces again, she'd have to work for it, just like he had to work for everything he had. Sighing, he scooped the girl up, marveling at how light she was, and made his way back through the forest. Not wanting to wake her up, he kept his leaps light and small. He was so engrossed in his thoughts he never felt her snuggle deeper into his chest and let out a small contented sigh. She was right where she wanted to be and didn't know it. In Sakura's mind, this was the most comfortable she had ever been. In her dream, her blonde Adonis was carrying her through the treetops and she was safe, she was warm, and most importantly, she was happy. In her dream he sported that foxy grin that made her heart melt, and she could literally feel his rippling muscles and smell his earthy scent. Her eyes fluttered open and she was greeted by tanned flesh and the feel of muscular arms around her. Barely cracking her eye open so that whoever her carrier was wouldn't notice, she allowed her head to roll backward and saw that it was her love, Naruto. She nearly let out a girlish squeal but instead decided to just enjoy the ride and get used to the feeling of being in his arms. This was a sign that he still had some feelings for her at least. Perhaps Irika was right. Everything would be okay. It took longer to get out of the forest than it had to get in, and Naruto was surprisingly comfortable with Sakura in his arms. He made it to her apartment and went in through the window before setting her down on the bed. He noticed a slight grimace on her face when he set her down, and was himself slightly disappointed when the warmth on his chest disappeared. He tucked her in and stood for a moment, admiring the girl he was forcibly cutting himself off from. He sighed and turned to go, but not before an innocent remark slipped his tongue that he didn't even notice. "Good night, Sakura-chan." He disappeared immediately, and as soon as he was gone, a loud squeal was heard and Sakura leapt from her bed to go find Ino. Her day had gone from shitty to unbelievable in a matter of minutes, and after hearing that, she knew it was no longer a lost cause. It would just take longer. Letting out another squeal, she was off to find Ino Pig and extol on her being carried through the woods by a body made of marble. Naruto sat in front of Tsunade's desk, with a not-so-happy look on his face. It contrasted greatly with how everyone thought he should, and used to, look like. Gone was the happy-go-lucky boy, replaced with a somber, scowling man. The female Hokage didn't really know where to start. She had called him in here to give him the details of what she wanted Sakura to be trained in, but he was making it hard to strike up the conversation with how he was acting. Something must have happened the day prior after Sakura drug him out of the dango shop. She didn't want to pry, but her curiosity was getting the better of her. "Alright, brat, what happened yesterday? Don't lie to me, you know what I mean?" Naruto's frown seemed to deepen further if that was possible. He was trying to forget yesterday, but it wasn't proving to be easy. "Your protégé decided that she wanted to talk. Unfortunately, she wanted to talk mostly with her fists before proclaiming that she had feelings for me. Your temper appears to have rubbed off on her and added to her own. I called bullshit on her claims and left the area, before my two consciences decided that instead of acting like an ass, I needed to be a gentleman and escort her home. Not that I don't disagree, I hate acting like that, but I don't know what to do in this situation. It's going to be difficult traveling with her if she thinks she can still treat me like we're 12. I am not going to put up with any silliness simply because she can't keep her emotions in check. I can understand that. But Naruto, you're going to have to come to terms with the fact that she does indeed have feelings for you. Instead of constantly running away from the problem, why not face it head on? Whoever said I was running? You were gone for 2 years and you don't consider that running? You were afraid to come back and face the issue, Naruto. Despite what you may believe, you are incredibly easy to read among your friends and family. Sakura can read you better than most, and that's what hurts her more. She can see that, deep down, you still harbor feelings of your own for her, and yet you don't act on them. Why is that? Naruto folded his arms over his chest and leaned back. I'm not answering that. Now tell me what you want her duties to be. Tsunade sighed heavily. It was like pulling teeth getting the other blonde to talk when he didn't want to. I want her to be trained in gathering information and espionage. I know that Jiraiya taught you well in this and that his spy network recognizes you as his successor. I want Sakura introduced into the network so that if something goes wrong with you, we will still have someone to fall back on. You will take her along and introduce her to several dignitaries that I know you have an in with. And generally for the next year I want the two of you to relax in between work. See a movie, eat dinner together, be young. You act like an old man, Naruto, and it's disturbing. Even Jiraiya knew when to take a break and take it easy. You're going to be with her for at least a year, so I suggest you get it through that thick-ass skull of yours that if you don't lighten the fuck up, I will strip you of your rank and demote you to genin. Do I make myself clear? Crystal. Even thought I don't know why you're going to such drastic measures. Now, what about Anko? Anko has her own duties to attend to. She will be out gathering information like the two of you, but she has her own way of doing that. I don't really want to know how a sadist like Anko gets her information. I'm not one much to talk, Tsunade. Jiraiya got his info through unorthodox methods. I prefer brute force and torture. It's quicker and more efficient. Jiraiya was known to tickle his informants into submission. Yes, well, I'm sure you know what to do now. This meeting is officially over and you are to leave when ready. Now is there anything you need me to do for you? Just have a genin team clean my house every now and then. Take it out of my pay. And tell them not to steal anything. I have a seal on everything that isn't bolted down, and if it's removed from the premises it will have an unpleasant reaction. I'll see what I can do. Now what are you going to do with the rest of your time? I owe bushy brows a spar. And I need to find my new partner and lay down some rules to her. I'll see you when I see you, Bachan. Goodbye, Naruto. I'll see you soon. It was not hard to find the green spandex-clad young man known as Rock Lee. All one had to do was listen for the knock of flesh on wood or the shouts of youth in the air. Currently, Lee was doing vertical push-ups while a bored-looking Tenten kept count so that he couldn't delay their date any further if he lost count, and decided to start over. Her bored look gave way to an excited grin when she saw Naruto, and she closed the distance between them rather quickly. Hello Naruto, how've you been? I heard what you did to those Otonins. Nice work. Yeah, well, thank you Tenten. But I would have done that regardless if our friends were in danger. I just don't like Oto. That's not why I've come though. Oh? Then why are you here? You're not leaving already, are you? You just got back. I'm not leaving yet. I owe your boyfriend over there a spar. They never saw Lee move from his push-ups, but there he was standing by them, not in the least bit affected by his exercises, his grin threatening to break off his face. YOSH. My youthful rival has given me a chance to prove my youthfulness. Surely, together, we shall tear down the boundaries of unyouthfulness and usher in a new era with our battle. He was immediately put into the dirt by an irate Tenten, who was holding one ear with her hand and wincing from the boom of his voice. Damn it, Lee, just once, can't you talk normally? I knew that leaving you alone with Guy-sensei all those years was a bad idea. I'm sorry, my flower, but I am just excited about battling Naruto. No one has ever given me a fight like he could. I just wish to get started. So then, Lee, you're all stretched out? Don't think I'm going to go easy on you. But just to make things even, I won't use jutsus. Is that acceptable? Whatever you want, Naruto. Just know that I have increased my speed and I won't go down easily. My strength is something that is to be feared. My only regret is that there is no one here to witness this except my Tenten. Truly, it is unyouthful. Naruto simply grinned at his odd friend. Don't worry, Lee. With the way you and I fight, there'll be a crowd here in no time. Now ready? Yash! The two men fell into their respective stances. Naruto, low to the ground with both arms dangling loosely in front of him, his legs splayed wide. For all intents and purposes he looked like an animal ready to strike. But the smile never left his face. Lee had fallen into his Goken stance, and he too had a large smile on his face. Neither moved, both staring into the other's eyes, waiting for a signal. With a flush of embarrassment, she realized she was supposed to start them off. She raised her arm and dropped it before leaping out of the way. A good thing too, because Naruto and Lee chose that moment to jump. The shockwave from their fists meeting was felt for several hundred yards. It reverberated throughout the surrounding countryside and brought every ninja that was training nearby running. Genin teams and their Jounin sensei came barreling into the clearing and stared in awe at the display of speed. The only thing visible to the Genin were blurs of orange and green. The longer the battle went on, the more ninjas showed up. Soon enough, the Rookie 9 and the Hokage herself showed up to see the dazzling display of taijutsu going on. As soon as Tenten's arm dropped, Naruto and Lee were upon each other. Their first punches met, and they knew that the resulting backlash of power would bring a crowd. Their fists were drawn back immediately and kicks were thrown and both were blocked. Every blow hurt like hell due to the weights that they were wearing, but neither noticed the pain. They were having too much fun and didn't notice the crowd gathering around them. Lee ducked a kick and threw a punch at Naruto's face that connected and sent him rolling backward until he hit a tree. Everyone watched in awe as the tree groaned and then fell under the pressure, while Naruto got back to his feet and observed Lee slipping back into his Goken stance. Naruto was outside the boundary of their unspoken ring and needed to get back in. Naruto looked around at the throng and saw everyone he knew there. Throwing his head back at the bewildered looks on their faces, he eyed Lee once again. "How about it, Lee? Ready to take the weights off yet? If you are Naruto." Without another word, Naruto shucked his jacket. Lee removed his leg weights and the air was filled with a resounding boom as the weights flew through the air and compacted with ground, making several large craters. There were many wide eyes, as many knew that Lee trained with weights, and it was a sure bet that Naruto did too, but not to that extent. It was pure insanity. The throng listened to the creak and crack of bones as necks and shoulders were rolled and limbs loosened before the two warriors leapt back at one another. Lee's reach was severely compromised due to Naruto's height, but he made up for that with pure determination and speed. Both fighters were having a hard time keeping up with the other, but both still had an infuriating grin on their face. It was like they weren't trying to pound the crap out of each other. They glanced at each other across the field and with a silent nod, they began to beat the holy hell out of each other once more. The only sounds that could be heard were the pounding of feet on the ground and the sound of flesh and bone being punished. Lee was the one sent flying this time, and he nearly took out a squad of genin as he went hurtling past them. His flight was deterred by the quick appearance of Naruto behind him, who, with a kick to the back, sent him pinwheeling back to the center of their ring. He unceremoniously dug a trench in the dirt, and had his pride hurt when Naruto gave him a swift boot in the ass to get him up, which brought many chuckles from the crowd. Lee stood with a scowl on his face and dusted himself off. "That was unnecessary, my friend. I did not need the motivation to stand up again so soon." "Ah, but Lee. It was such a perfect shot, and I couldn't resist. You have to admit it was pretty funny." They certainly thought so. Naruto swept his hand out and showed that many of the genin were holding in giggles, while many of the older shinobi tried to keep an impassive face. It was hard to though, when quite possibly the best taijutsu expert in the village had just had a boot imprint left on his ass from a good friend. Lee couldn't keep up the frown though, and eventually his $1,000,000 grin made its way back to his face. He struck the nice guy pose and wiggled his eyebrows. "Yosh. Then I, too, shall make the crowd laugh at our antics." Before Naruto could move, Lee was beside him and had pantsed him, in front of all their peers. Besides the fact that many kunoichi now had nosebleeds, it was quite a hilarious sight. The Toad Sannin had just had a prank worthy of his younger years played on him. Naruto, to his credit, took it in stride as Lee stood across from him, with a huge grin and holding his pants over his shoulder. When Naruto coughed into his hand and held his other hand out, Lee shook his head and threw the pants into the crowd, right at a newly arrived Sakura. Naruto's eyebrows shot up in annoyance while the pink-haired kunoichi turned blood red and tried to melt into the crowd, only to reappear next to her master, Tsunade. The female Hokage didn't show him any mercy when she took the pants from the new slug Sannin and burnt them with a katon jutsu. "Crap, that was my favorite pair of pants," thought Naruto. He sighed and turned back to Lee, wearing only his silk boxers. He flashed Lee a foxy grin and got back into his stance. "You're just lucky I wasn't going commando today, Lee. Now you get to get beat up by a half-naked guy, instead of a butt-naked guy. Ready? Bring it on, boxer boy." Tsunade had turned to Sakura when Naruto made his comment, and had whispered something in her ear that the poor girl just couldn't take, as she pulled a hinata and fainted on the spot with a wide grin on her face. Tsunade shook her head and turned back to the fight, to find that it was over. Naruto had decided that having his dangly parts swinging around could be detrimental to his health, and just took Lee down with a body slam that knocked him out. A rather anticlimactic end to their adrenaline-filled match, but he figured the female population had already seen too much as it is. Now he'd have to worry about them trying to steal his underwear. "Ten, can you come get your boyfriend? I have to go home and get some pants since someone decided that it would be a good idea to torch mine." Tsunade just grinned and turned around to leave. She shooed everyone away as she figured that Naruto wouldn't leave until everyone was gone. All part of the plan since Sakura was still knocked out. Naruto's chivalrous nature wouldn't allow him to leave her there, and he'd have to at least take her home. Once the crowd was gone, Naruto spun around to dash home and noticed a dash of pink against the brown earth. He groaned and turned slowly to find his childhood crush passed out on the ground. "She must have passed out when she got my pants. And she always called me a pervert. Well, I can't just leave her out here. Guess I'll take her home with me. Ah, fuck it, I had to talk to her anyway." This makes it easier. Naruto strode across the badly torn up ground and picked up his new charge and darted home. He was halfway there when he felt something nuzzle against his chest and looked down to find the napping ninja snuggling against his chest, seeking warmth. The corners of his mouth just barely turned up as he thought how cute she looked. He didn't stop to argue with himself as he ran. He needed to get into some pants. He stepped into his house and quickly set his small bundle on the couch before bounding up the stairs to his room. He still couldn't believe that Tsunade had burned his best pair of pants. Sakura began to wake up as soon as her skin touched the cold leather of the couch. She saw a streak of yellow bound up the stairs and wondered where she was. She remembered passing out after Tsunade mentioned something about Naruto in the buff. Oh yeah, that's why she passed out. She looked around and took in her surroundings. It was comfortable in the room, the walls a light beige, the lighting subtle and not too bright. It was homey and yet was simple. Hearing footsteps behind her, she spun on her knees to look over the back of the couch and saw her love coming down the stairs. He looked at her and sighed. We need to talk, Sakura. Sakura hadn't expected to be brought into Naruto's house, much less want to talk to her. He had told her to explore and make herself at home before they talked while he made tea and got some snacks. She wandered through all the rooms on the bottom floor and marveled at their quality and the comfortability of them. On the inside she was absolutely giddy. This is where I belong. This is where I want to spend my last days. She nearly squealed when she found the large hot springs out back and the very extensive backyard/training area. She could spend her entire life here and die happy. With that thought she wandered upstairs. To say the girl was surprised was an understatement. Naruto's bedroom was the upstairs. Whereas the downstairs had tons of extra rooms and assorted goodies, the upstairs bedroom was massive. In the middle was a large four-post bed and all around her were shelves upon shelves of scrolls and books containing information. There were plants by all the windows and there was a hot tub at one end of the room, with a large tiled bathroom off to one side. It was the only separate thing upstairs. She marveled at the beautiful tub and the cool feel of the tiles on her bare feet. Before she went back downstairs though, she had to try out the bed. She flopped down face first and sighed when she sunk into the downy surface. Oh yeah? I could get used to this. Without realizing it, she drifted off to sleep. Naruto had thought that it was too quiet. He came back into the living room carrying a tray of tea and some cakes that he had made quickly, but he couldn't see Sakura anywhere. Setting the tray down, he searched all the bottom floor's rooms and came up empty-handed. He checked the backyard and the springs, still nothing. With a sigh, he trudged back up the stairs to his bedroom. Sure enough, there was Sakura, knocked out on his bed, snoring lightly. He almost didn't have the heart to wake her, but there were important things they had to talk about. He shook her shoulder, but she only mumbled something unintelligible and rolled over and out of his reach. He gave her an annoyed look and flipped over the bed to the other side. After poking her in the forehead, he had to leap back when her eyes flew open and she took an angry swipe at him. You know, we're going to have to work on that temper of yours, that's for damn sure. Now get up and come down to the living room, the tea's getting cold. Sakura had the good grace to blush at that. She hadn't meant to fall asleep, but she was so damn comfortable and Naruto's poking had been really annoying. She sighed as she followed him. If she was going to make any headway with him, she was going to have to watch her temper. This new Naruto apparently didn't take any of her shit with good nature like the old Naruto had. She'd have to step lightly. She flopped down on the couch again and took a cup of tea from the tray on the coffee table in front of her. She sipped it, found it appeasing and grabbed a small cake, took one bite, and then shoved the whole thing in her mouth, chewing happily with a smile on her face. Are all the women in my life pigs? Thought Naruto. Did you make all this, Naruto? This is delicious. Thank you, and yes, I did make it. It's surprisingly easy to bake something quickly with a katon jutsu. The tea is just tea, nothing special. Now then, I believe you and I need to talk about us and the next year. This made Sakura perk up immediately. Not the part about the next year but the way he said us. It was like he had almost acknowledged her. She sat at attention and waited for whatever was coming her way. Okay, Sakura. For the next year at least, you and I are going to be together all the time. We're going to walk together, eat together, room together, and fight together. I'm going to be showing you what your duties will entail. You'll be doing what I'm doing, which is gathering information. After the first year, you and I will be going our separate ways, but we will still meet up from time to time, unless for some reason the Hokage decides we need to remain a team. I'm going to introduce you to all my informants, and tell both you and them what I expect of you. My information network is more thorough than Jiraiya's was and I expect it to be kept that way. Any questions? Yeah, why am I getting these duties? I didn't know that Sanins had specific duties outside of doing whatever the Hokage needs done. We don't, technically speaking. This is just something that keeps us occupied until we're needed and gets much needed information at the same time. Since we're always out and about, if there is a problem with some of Konoha's forces, we can go to help them directly. Now that that's answered, we need to address your temperament issues. I do not have temper issues. Yes, you do. Sakura, when we were little you used to bash me over the head repeatedly. If I didn't carry the QB, I'd be in a coma right now. Just the other day, you tried to beat me to death again. That's gotta stop. I won't take it like I used to. If you can overcome that, we can get along fabulously, I believe. I'll try. I won't promise anything though, if you act perverted or just act like an ass in general. Okay, that'll work. Now then, I'm sure you have people to say goodbye to and other things, so you can go. We'll leave in a week. Naruto got up to leave the room but was stopped by Sakura grabbing his arm. Just a moment. Sit. We still have to talk. About what? Us. Naruto sighed and flopped down in his chair again. He should have seen this coming and was rubbing his temples to stave off the coming headache. Cammy, just don't let her get violent like the other day. I don't want to have to replace anything in here. Okay, I'm listening. Just don't wreck anything in here, alright? They're family heirlooms, I promise. I'm sorry about the other day, Naruto. What I did was out of line, but I want you to understand that I meant what I said. I did miss you. I miss you terribly, and not a day went by that I didn't want you back here with me. I still want you beside me. I want you back in my life. What about Sasuke? I know he meant the world to you, Sakura. That was the whole reason we tried to get him back. She sighed and hung her head. You're right, Naruto, that was the reason. But after a while we all have to grow up and face reality. Sasuke was a dream, Naruto, and he wasn't a very good one. He never did anything unless it centered around him, and he was a horrible teammate and friend. When I kissed him that day, I only returned it to see if I felt anything for him still, and I found I didn't. Make not mistake, Naruto, he kissed me because he saw you standing there. I didn't initiate it, even if I did get into it. That was my fault for not realizing that he was just being his usual manipulative self. I beat myself up about that for a long time. Then you disappeared and I realized what I was missing from my life. Light, happiness, laughter, joy. These were things that Sasuke could never have given me, and you always did. I started to really notice you and fall for you when you came back from your trip with Jiraiya. It was hard not to. You grew up so fast without us around. I just wish I would have said something back then we wouldn't be in this mess. Naruto just shrugged and sat back, taking a sip of his tea. Things happen for a reason, Sakura. How do you know that I'm what you want? Maybe you're just chasing an image of me like you did with Sasuke? After all, I'm not how I used to be when I was younger. Sakura looked up at him and took a bite of her cake. No, you're better. You're more mature now, but you still know how to have fun. Today with Lee was a prime example of that. You have no idea how happy that smile on your face made me. It was proof that no matter how much you might want to be cold, you just can't be. It's not in your nature, Naruto. I know it was you who took me home the other night too. It's not in you to hate Naruto. No, but it is in me to carry a grudge. I might forgive, but I never forget, Sakura. I promised Irika that I would at least give you a chance to come back into my life, but from here we start with a clean slate. I won't hold any past discretions against you and you won't hold any against me. We're going to be working together for a long time, so we might as well be on an acquaintance level with each other. No, Naruto. We're friends. Even if you no longer view us as that, you'll always be my friend. Just give me a chance to prove that I'm genuine, and I'll make you happy. Naruto sighed when he heard this. That was the problem, she just didn't get it. You see, that's the problem, Sakura. That's why you can't have me. You want to make me happy like you wanted to make Sasuke happy. She looked at him, puzzled. What do you mean? I don't want anyone to make me happy. I want to be happy with them. I want it to be mutual. I don't want the one I spend the rest of my life with, thinking that they have to make me happy. I want to be comfortable with the one I'm with. Even when I'm angry with her, I want to love her, never let her go. I can't do that if she feels she always has to make me happy. Relationships take two to tango. One person can't do it alone. Sakura sat there stunned. That was it? That's what she'd been doing wrong all these years. She was trying to make everyone else happy, without letting them make her happy. When did Naruto get so knowledgeable about relationships when he had never been in one? He must have seen the look on her face because he explained himself. I've been around, Sakura. I've tried dating. But none of the girls I dated were worth my time. I'm a demanding person. All I demand is that you love me, for me, and I'll love you back no matter who you are. But the girls I tried were all very superficial. They loved my height, or my muscles, or my hair, or whatever caught their attention at the moment. It wasn't real and I never hung around longer than a month. Besides, if anyone ever found out about the QB, then they wouldn't stick around. I would. Naruto leaned back and looked at the ceiling. It was a long while before he spoke again. You don't know how much that means, Sakura. But you have to do more than just say that. The damn fox is a cunning thing. I never know when he'll try to do anything, and whoever ends up with me will always be in danger. Do you know why I stopped bugging you after we brought Tsunade back? No. Why? Because I saw how you acted when Sasuke was healed. You never even saw me in the room after he woke up. I just left, Sakura. I gave up. I set my feelings aside, but you never give up. That's your nindo. My nindo is that I never go back on my word. I never promised to gain your love because I didn't know if it would be a sure thing. Besides, who would want to date me? Hinata, yeah, but I couldn't put Hinata through all the trouble. Her father would have disowned her if she'd brought me home. Kiba was a much better choice anyway. No demons inside him. Sakura couldn't help but giggle at the deadpan comment. It was typical Naruto. He looked at her and a small grin threatened to come onto his face, which didn't go unnoticed by her. You know, you look a lot more attractive when you smile, Naruto. I believe you told Hinata that one time. I did, but I believe it only works for women. You idiots like the brooding bastards anyway. That wasn't funny, Naruto. I told you that was the past. I won't apologize for anything said. If you don't like it, you just don't like it. Besides, don't you have somewhere to be? Are you trying to get rid of me? No, but I assumed you had duties at the hospital or something. No, actually, I'd much rather talk to you. This makes me remember the good old days when I could talk to you about anything. I hope we'll get back to that eventually. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. I guarantee nothing. If you want to start with a new slate though, Sakura, you'll leave the past in the past. The good old days weren't all that good to me, so I'll thank you not to bring them up. But what about Team 7? What about Kakashi-sensei? What about me? Like I said, Team 7 sucked. I haven't spoken to Kakashi in years, and you, well, I'll leave it at that. Don't I mean anything to you, Naruto? Do I even still have a place in your heart? He gave a long sigh and leaned his elbows on his knees, his long hair shadowing his eyes. When he finally spoke, it was in such a low, sad tone. I won't lie to you, Sakura. Lying isn't one of my best abilities. Yes, you do still hold a place in my heart, but it is very precarious, and I don't really know where you stand anymore. I don't want to let you in, and yet I miss you too. I don't want to be hurt again, and part of me thinks that if I get too close, you'll fuck me over again. I don't want that. So let's take it slow and see where we stand later on, okay? Is that acceptable? Sakura smiled warmly at him and stood to leave. She had gotten more than she could have wanted today. It's perfectly acceptable, Naruto, and probably more than I deserve after all you've been through because of me. I do want you to promise me one thing though. What? Promise me that no matter what, you won't leave me alone again. That you'll always be there if I need you. He gave her a sad look and shook his head. I can't promise you that. I won't promise you that. I can't predict the future and I don't know what will happen. I'm sorry, Sakura. She was on the verge of tears as she left. She lingered in the doorway, before turning to him and giving him a small smile. That's okay, Naruto. I'll take what I can get. As she walked out of the grounds to prepare for her journey, she promised herself that she would win his heart the hard way, through hard work and perseverance, just the way he would have when they were younger. The week passed quickly and it was soon time to go. Naruto stood at the gate with his swords on his back, leaned against the supports, waiting for Sakura to arrive. She was currently at the Hokage tower, saying goodbye to everyone. Naruto didn't want to say goodbye. He'd always be in and out, so he didn't see the need. He never knew when he'd be home. He was lost in thought when a voice spoke in his head. You know, Master, when the two of you do come back periodically, her apartment won't be there anymore. How do you know that? Because I have a sneaking suspicion. Tsunade is a very devious woman, you know. I believe you're going to have to put Lady Sakura up for the night when the two of you come back every now and then. I agree, Master. You can't escape forever. By the way, we are very proud of you for at least giving her a chance. It will make things easier for all. You two are such pains in the asses. If I wouldn't have said yes, you would have bugged me the entire trip. You keep telling yourself that, Master. We both know that deep down, you still care for her. You can't hide it forever. No, but I can damn well try. Well, speak of the devil, here she is. Sakura came running up to him at a full sprint. She didn't slow down and blew by him and kept running down the road. He blinked at her enthusiasm until he heard a loud shriek and looked over his shoulder to see a very red-faced Hokage followed by an equally red-faced Shizen. Whatever Sakura did was huge, and he wasn't going to be the punching bag for something she did. Shouting "see you later, Bachan" over his shoulder, he shot off down the road before the older blonde could grab him. He'd find out what Sakura did later.